Hi everyone, this is Ghalib, and you're watching me live on my, on YouTube. This debate is on my Urdu channel as well, but it's going to be in English. So if we have the Urdu audience, I know nearly all of you can understand English, but this is also going on the English channel as well. So I'd like to welcome Nadir and Bitter Truth for this debate. And this debate is about, is Quran scientific or not? Nadir is going to give arguments in favor of the motion, and Bitter Truth is going to deny the motion. And I am just going to moderate. And how this debate is going to be conducted is that both the speakers will get 12 minutes each in the beginning, where they are going to present their point, and then we are going to have a 48 minutes of session in which they are going to have 3 minutes each to reply to each other's rebuttals. And after that, we are going to have a session of 40 minutes in which you guys would be able to ask questions in the super chat, in the chat. And anything that you send during this time before the question answer session, I'll keep it for the end, and we would discuss it at the end of the debate. The questions, you can ask questions right now, but they would be answered in the question answer session. So Bitter Truth, you are going first, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you can start now.
Yeah. So when something comes up from the God and our Creator, when He talks about a creation or He talks about human creation, about embryology or anything else, it's supposed to be 100% a fact, a scientific fact. And if it's not a scientific fact, then it's a false God, or if it's a
Bitter
false.
Truth, you can let me know when you want to share your screen. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Please
So
continue. Please continue.
yeah, so when our creator he creates the universe, who creates the humans, he must know the anatomy of a creation, and then he should be explaining very well, and it should be going into the scientific test, and scientific test also verifying that yeah, this is from the God. So right now I'm kind of confused a lot of things in Quran and Hadith, and I'm just gonna be talking about that, and let's see what if the Nadir Bhai can prove it, that this is a scientific fact, and if it is really a scientific fact, I will be embracing Islam right away. So can you please share my screen? Oh, you shared it. Okay. So yeah, the topic is Quranic scientific claims are true. Let's see the chapter 86 verse 6 and 7. He was created from a fluid ejected emerging from between the backbone and the ribs. I would be glad if Nadir Bhai can show me if there is any organ that's emitting and emerging to between the ribs and the bone backbone. And now let's talk about the embryology. Chapter 75 verse 37, and as well as chapter 40 67 verse, chapter 22 verse 5, especially chapter 23 verse 12 to 4 is talks about humankind from extract of clay, then place each human as a sperm drop in a secure place, then we develop the drop into a clinging clot of blood. The develop blood, the clot into a lump of flesh, then develop the lump into bones, then close the bones with the flesh. So this is how it's giving us, the stages of embryonic. And chapter 96 verse 2 also talking about the human being created from a clinging clot, which is a blood clot. Over the last 100 plus years, this word Alaqa has been translated as follow. In French, on grumio de sang, a small lump of blood, which is been translated by Kasimirski, 1948, and he was last during life of author 1887. And the next is Yusuf Ali, who translated in 1946 a blood clot. even further Maulana Muhammad Ali, Zafarullah Khan, and you can see all of those translated a blood clot. Even if I look at into the Tafsir, Tafsir. Um, Tafsir Ibn Qasir, Tafsir Ibn Abbas, and other tafasir, all of them are talking about blood clot. So there is no other meaning besides the blood clot of this Alaqa. So now the chronic stages of prenatal development is stage 1 nutfa, stage 2 Alaqa, which is a blood clot, stage 3 mudgha, a piece of lump, number 4 is Adam, which is bones, and then dressing the bones. This is completely incorrect according to the modern science, and it's really a biggest problem. And there is also Hadith, Sahih al Bukhari, book 6, Hadith 315, which is talking about when a drop of semen remain in in the womb of 40 or 45 days. That's even incorrect. The angel comes, says, my lord will be good or evil, and both these things would be written. Then the angel says, my lord would be male or female. Well, the chromosome itself, it could be X chromosome, it could be Y chromosome. That's telling us the gender. It's not after it enter into the womb, and then the creation is started, and then the angels are asking it would be a male or female. This is another scientific error. As well as Sahih al Muslim 2644, prophet, he talks about the every angel appoint and every womb Allah appoint an angel who says, "O Lord, a drop of semen, O Lord, a clot, O Lord, a little lump of flesh." Then, if Allah wishes to proceed or complete its creations, then angel asks, "Will it be a male or female?" And again, it's still talking about the similar thing. I never heard from any embryologist who says the sperm ejaculate from the man and it goes into the ovum, and then it created, and then it will be asking, it will be going to be a gender. It's never happened. The gender is already by the male. It could be X chromosome, it could be Y chromosome. So this is another biggest problem in Quran. So I just bring this up to see if the Nadir Bhai can prove me by the authentic sources besides Keith Moore. If he can bring it, the authentic source, like a medical or a medical university or medical hospital, who is showing the similar that the semen, the sperm, it change into the blood clot, and then blood clot change into lump, and then lump change into the bone, and then dress the bones by the muscles. If any of medical university claiming in the same way, then I definitely will be embracing Islam right away. So this is the thing, and there is more questions, but I think it's better to stick with this embryology and chapter 86 verse 6 and 7. And if Nadir Bhai can show me if there is really an organ between loin and ribs and it's coming from there, I would be glad, and I definitely would like to hear from all of these. I think I completed my presentation before the 12 minutes, and I can give the other time to Nadir Bhai if he can express and give me some detail. But before that,
Okay.
I need
So
just a little break because I need to grab the pen and notebook so I
yeah, you
can
can.
write it
You
down.
can.
Yeah, I
Okay.
forget that.
Okay. So a
Take your
bitter
time.
truth ended in almost, I think my timer broke down in the middle, but he ended almost in 8 minutes. So that's okay. Okay. Now, should I stop the screen share? Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait for him to come back. That's fine. We can give him some time.
Okay. Yeah. Button. I hope he gets back soon. You can start now there if you want to.
Well, let's wait for him because he needs to jot down the points. So let's just wait for him
Okay.
to come
Okay.
back. Yeah.
Okay, we are still in his time, so we can maybe wait.
Yeah.
So guys, please like this video, share it with your friends, and that's going to be good. Okay, so
Okay, I'm just back.
okay, okay,
Thank.
Nadir, you can start if you want to.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So, he's right. If the Quran is to be taken seriously as a book of God, it should not contradict documented scientific fact. And that's exactly what we're going to see tonight. I'll go ahead and answer his challenges. And this is something, which you'll find many religions, like for example, those people who are of the Hindu faith, Christian faith, they're not going to debate science in their books because they know that there's direct contradictions with modern science. And so pretty much all the science debates is all basically on Islam because we are confident and we are sure that the Quran is in complete harmony with modern science. And that's what we're going to find tonight. So um, let me just go ahead and begin, and I'm going to do a quickly share my screen. So the first thing, he wanted to look for that organ, which is between the backbone and the ribs, which emits semen, which I believe he said, okay, then I will become a Muslim or something like that. He put out a challenge or to that extent. So let me go ahead and share my desktop over here real quick. Share screen, and I'll show you that organ real quick. So basically, the verse says that semen is emitted between the backbone and the ribs. So let's go there real quick. So, all right, here we go. Science tells us, see, to the average person, when you talk about the backbone and the ribs, this is talking about this area right over here. This is what people would assume: your chest cavity, backbone and ribs. Semen doesn't come from there. But science tells us when they talk about the backbone and the ribs, there's also another area which the layman may not be familiar with. Let's take a look at that reference over here. It says over here, I'm just grabbing this article between from Healthline. It says between the bottom of your rib cage and your hips, this is where your kidneys are. Did you see that? Oh, well, okay. So between the tailbone and the ribs is also another area from between the backbone and the ribs. So again, let's take a look at this area. There's the ribs right over here, and then there's the backbone right over here. So this whole area right over here is also between the backbone and the ribs over here. Now here's another reference where just basically is talking about pain and lower back between the ribs and the tailbone. So we should also, I'm just pointing out, we should also look in that area as well. The baby comes from between the ribs and the back is that area. So now let's go and focus on that area. Let's put some, I'm sorry, my X and Y axes are kind of backwards. Sorry about that in my drawing. So here we have a picture of that cross section. We got the X and Y axis. Lo and behold, we have this organ right here. This is called the vas deferens. When ejaculation occurs, semen comes up. Well, actually, seminal fluid. Seminal fluid comes up through this duct, through the vas deferens, and then the prostate squeezes some stuff in it, and out comes the semen. Where is this tube, the vas deferens? Notice it is where? Between the backbone and the ribs are right over here, right between the X and the Y axis. So to answer his challenge, he says, well, so where is that organ? It's the vas deferens. That's where semen is emitted from between the backbone and the ribs, as you can clearly see on the screen right here. So that should answer that challenge. So once again, the Quran is in complete harmony with modern science on this one. So he also said something about, he went into the hadith and talking about hadith, and yeah, that's fine. We can go there. But I would like to kind of bring him back to the Quran, because you see, as you said in your opening, listen, if this is the word of God, it should not contradict science. And I believe we should answer that challenge. The hadith, this is a recorded history of Islam. Maybe it's the best way to say it. So Of course, I will just talk and discuss those hadiths which you quoted, but the point here, it's kind of lost because you're talking about the history. Could there hypothetically be weak hadith? Could there be errors in recording history? Well, sure, man is recording it. Yeah, that's very possible. So that in no way discredits Islam. As you said in the beginning, you should look at the Quran. God cannot make any mistakes. You're right. You're right. God cannot make any mistakes. So let's focus on the Quran. Once we look over there and we debate that, then we can go to the hadith. But since you did mention the hadith, let's go there and we will see that actually you quoted a hadith about being 40 days in the womb or something like that. Some of your points I kind of didn't jot down, but that's okay. We'll get into that. What you should be informed, my friend, there are many different versions of the 40-day hadith. You just picked one, which could potentially have some wording mistakes in it. Again, we're talking about the history. Let me give you a better version of it. Here we have.
Rather, you have 6 more minutes just to
Okay,
let you know.
wonderful.
My timer is a little bit problematic, so
Okay,
that's
no
why I'm
problem.
telling this. Okay.
So here is another version of the same hadith which you quoted over here. Okay, notice what's missing. Any reference about you being in the womb for 40 days. That's not in this version of the hadith. So if we are to do proper, I guess scholarship or whatever analysis you're doing here, you need to get all the related hadith, all the different versions of the hadith. So the one which is narrated by this Sahaba, it's actually accurate. So I think this is a mistake which you have made here, because as we can see, and I highlighted the word mitlihi, meaning it's like. So it's not only that 40 days is not mentioned in that hadith, but it's saying it's mitlahi, it's sort of like it, you see. Now, so that should resolve any kind of controversy about that. But let's circle back and get back into the Quran. Now, you have said tonight that you try to narrow the meaning of the word alaqa to only blood clot so that you can force an error. It cannot mean leech. It cannot mean something which clings. But bitter, you are an Urdu speaking person. This word alaqa is found in your language as something else other than clot. You know, तुम्हारे क्या ताल्लुक है इसके साथ? तुम्हारा क्या ताल्लुक? Allaqaa. What is this meaning in your language? And of course, I'm from Pakistan. My Urdu is not very good. That's why I watch Ghalib's channel. I learn a lot of Urdu from him. He's like my Urdu teacher. वो बहुत अच्छी सा Urdu बोलता है. So I'm kind of jealous of you guys because you guys speak it much better than me, but I'm learning. So anyways, my point here is this, that look how that word is now being disseminated in the different languages. What does it mean in your language? What is your relation to this thing? What is tumhara kya ta'alluq hai? Meaning something which clings, right? And that's exactly what it means in Arabic. So basically, but let's go along with the clot. It's okay. You see, the word alaqa has three meanings. Clot, it means leech. It means something which clings. What has astonished the scientists is that when you look at these three meanings, every single meaning of that word accurately describes the embryo. Now here, and of course, I've quoted Dr. Keith Moore on that. Let me see if I can pull him up over here. But it's not just Keith Moore. It's also many different scientists. He is one of the many who has actually spoken on this topic about the scientific accuracy of this word alaqa, which you are actually complaining about. Let me see if I get okay, here we go. So it's not just Keith Moore, it's TVN Persad. He spoke about this word, about its scientific accuracy. It's Keith Moore, E. Marshall Johnson, and there's others. So anyways, why are they so excited about the blood clot? They're saying that's a very good description of the embryo. Here we see, now let me go back to this picture over here. Now at the embryo, at its very early stage, as you can see over here, in this stage, they say it's got like some blood in it, but the blood is not circulating. They say it's very similar to like a blood clot. A blood clot is actually a very good description of it. It's so good that they've actually submitted it to some of the most prestigious scientific journals, And I don't know their peer review process. I don't know anything, but they published it and they found it really very interesting. So here you could see the article I'm quoting from the National NCBI something.gov over here. So look how they published it. This is the very thing you are complaining about was published in the scientific, most reputable scientific journals. Look what it says over there. The third meaning, the blood clot, describes the most important internal structure that affects the external appearance. For in Alaqa stage, blood is formed in the blood vessels in the form of isolated islands and as
You have
embryo
less than a minute
resembling the
now.
blood
You have
clot.
less than a minute now.
Description are given miraculously in the single word alaqa. That's been published in the scientific journals. This is what you are calling an error. So, anyways, as you can see, the
30
Quran
seconds.
is in
30 seconds,
complete
Nadir.
harmony with modern science. So, let's have a
30
nice
seconds.
discussion on this. Go ahead.
Okay, Nadir, as you start, Bitter Truth started, so you can give the first rebut. Okay, then Bitter Truth can start. Okay, you can start with the first rebuttal if you want to. Then
Yes.
we will go to Bitter Truth. Yeah,
Okay.
Nadir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the thing he talks about the vast difference, and he is trying to tell that vast difference is between the loin and ribs, which is completely incorrect. It's by the sacrum, and it's in between the pelvis. If the Quran talks about the pelvis or by the sacrum, it will be more appropriate instead of calling it the vast difference is between the loin and ribs. And the vast difference, when the testicle form the sperm that goes into the epidermis, that stores the sperm, mature the sperm, and transport the sperm through the vas difference, and then it flows through the vas difference. It goes by the seminal vesicle that provides fructose, which is like a sugar, and that helps the Siemens uh, for more, which is already required, and then it goes through the prostate and it goes to the urethra and ejaculate. That's pretty much. So I mean, there is nothing in the between the loin and ribs. This is completely a wrong interpretation. You can try to interpret it because you want to defend your religion, but this is not there. Everybody can see that vast difference is not even by the cage, not even by the ribs are about like 6 to 7 inch above the ribs. So, and this is right between the pelvis, so it's not even located there where he's trying to say, and he talk about it emerged sperm, which is also incorrect. So let me correct you. It just transport the sperm, and
You have
then
1 minute. You have 1 minute.
okay,
Yeah.
and then the seminal vesicle supply fructose that mixes with this semen, and then it goes through the urethra. And I will go further for the blood clot, and I will be explaining in my next 3 minutes. So I hope I
Okay.
finish
Okay.
before that.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, he says, don't say backbone and rib, say pelvis and sacrum. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Let's see if saying backbone and ribs is really wrong. Okay, and no, it should be pelvis and sacrum. Okay, let's take a look again at the little picture over here. Because he says, you see, I'm trying to understand you. Maybe I might not understand all your
Okay.
points
Oh,
here,
here
but
it
that's
is.
okay. We
Yeah.
can we can we, we can look at this. So, uh, no, I mean, of course, it is. You can see the pelvis and the sacrum. I guess you could also say that, but I'm going to show you the picture one more time because I will show you backbone and rib is actually pretty accurate right here. Here's my picture right here. The ribs are right up here. All right, and this and the whole backbone is all right over here. Okay. Now, you could say sacrum, sure, but you could also call that the backbone as well. No problem. So, getting into the level of technical detail, maybe you could say the Quran could give more technical detail. I think if I understand your objection, well, sure, but the Quran is not a book of science, okay? It's written in a way for the common person to really understand and appreciate. Like we could look at that, we could say absolutely. But anyways, it's between. But let's go up. Let's just go along with a canard. Let's go along with that. Let's get up to the backbone. Let's say, don't you call this backbone? Let's go along with this canard and let's go up a little bit more. So it is still between the x and the y axis. Okay, the backbone is like, let's say right up over here. All right, I don't have it in my picture. Sorry about that, guys. But let's just go up a little bit more north. Okay, yeah. So it's right between. So it's right over here. So if you could see my fingers, backbone. Well, we'll go like that. There we go. We got the ribs, got the backbone, and it's right over here. It's right between it. So from a sniper's point of view, when he's out, taking a shot, he says, "I got him right between the crosshairs." But his target's 50 yards out. That's right between the crosshairs. So once again, if we were to go along with what you're saying, it's right between the backbone and the ribs. That's perfectly fine. Now, all the stuff about fructose and semen, I honestly didn't get it. I don't understand how the Quran is contradicting any of this big history which you are giving us today. So maybe you could explain to us a little bit more on what you mean by that. So,
So
the am I
10
done? Okay.
seconds, Nadir, 10
Yeah.
seconds.
So this goes. So I want you to address my point. Let's just go up. We're going to go along with what you're saying. Let's go up more north. It is still between the backbone and the ribs. Go ahead, please.
Your turn. Your turn.
Okay.
Dear Truth.
Yeah, I disagree again because it's not between the backbone and the ribs. Everybody can see that this is by the pelvis. Pelvis location is entirely different than the bone and ribs. And the other thing which you were trying to explain about the blood clot, it doesn't look like a blood clot even. If there is a blood clot by the placenta, where it's taking the nutrient, they more likely have to abort this pregnancy or have to give the female something to just dilute that, and the blood clot is not even acceptable. Can you please share my screen? I'm not sure if I can complete this all within next few
Yes,
minutes
yes,
or
please
not.
share your screen.
Yeah, so I can't see my screen. Okay, but let me just go ahead and uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Okay, okay.
this
It's
is
here. It's here. Yeah.
this is these are the semens, and one of the semen is going into the zona placida, which is the wall of this egg. And what happened when it goes into the wall of then it goes to the egg membranes, and the egg membranes pull it, and then it fused and it released the genetic material. At the same time, female also genetic materials appears awake. And then cell division starts, and there is some certain time for the egg implantation, which is called blastocyst implantation. So the blastocyst travel and attach with the placenta, a uterine line, which is also called endometrium, and where it when it burrow and enter into this, and then still there I'm not seeing any of the scientific fact which is telling that it transfer into a blood clot. Still it remains a embryo. And then any of the stage where it changes to bones, and then bones to flesh, there is none of this stage is like that. I will be explaining now the embryology, but not now, because looks like I don't have a lot of time. 3 minutes are not enough to explain everything, but I can explain everything when my next turn come on. My question is to Nadir Bhai. What thing is bothering you to accept the reality? Why you keep trying to explain that no, the backbone and the ribs, it's between the let me ask you, when I say location of my liver, you can say it's between the
10
backbone
seconds.
and the ribs. But this organ even not close to that, none of the medical
It's time.
facility.
It's time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's take. Okay, thank you.
Yes, this is very easy to answer. So basically, you see, Bitter, I don't think you understand the subject of tonight's debate. There is a distinct, you are thinking, convince me as an atheist skeptic. No, that's not what I came here to do. He said, I disagree. This is pelvis. It is pelvis. Don't you see? Why can't you see it? It is pelvis, not backbone and ribs. Bitter. Your objections are not based upon science. It's based upon your own personal interpretation. I, I can't change that. There is a distinct difference here tonight between debating modern science and what is your own personal skepticism. There is a distinct difference between debating what is modern science and atheist pseudoscientific quackology. You cannot confuse the two. So you see, your objection, you're saying, I disagree with this and I disagree with that, but your disagreement is not based upon scientific research. I am not here to convince the atheist skeptics. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to debate science and how the Quran contradicts documented scientific fact. Okay. Now, I understand that you do not interpret it to be backbones. No, between, and I think you started saying you are if I understood your very last point, that you are misrepresenting the word between. You are not to use between like that. If I understand what you're saying. Well, my only point here is on that is get your opinions peer reviewed. Submit it to the scientific community and say you should never use the word between like this. Get your quackology peer reviewed. And I'm not talking about you, but the people you're borrowing these arguments from. This is all I have to say. Get your quackology peer reviewed. And when the scientists say, don't use the word between like this, then I will say, look, Quran is wrong. So let us go back to the issue of the clot. So once again, I know these are not your arguments. So I'm just saying the people you borrowed it from, that you should not call it a clot. I have already shown you 3 different embryologists who actually said this is scientifically accurate. I've shown you reputable journals which was submitted about the clot, and it talked about that as being a very accurate description of the of the embryo. Mr. Bitter, your objections, I will once again ask you. You should now, the way science is supposed to work, when someone publishes a journal like what you have seen, now it is up to you if to publish your works and say clot is wrong. Get it peer reviewed and let the scientific community see this quackology. Okay?
It's time. It's time.
And then that's a right procedure. Don't argue with me about this. Go ahead.
Okay, Bitter Truth, your reply.
Okay, I respect your interpretation, but I disagree on this. And I'm not kind of dogmatic where I have to force you, but the audience can decide that instead of you or me. Okay, the other thing, can you please share my screen? He talks about the blood clot. This is from a Mayo Clinic. I can explain everything without seeing that, because I know that how the embryo developed, because you are gonna ask me, provide me the authentic link, so I, instead of interpreting, I would be bringing the correct one. So it might be strange, you are not actually pregnant. Conception typically occurs between 2 weeks last, and then the fertilization is sperm egg, which I just talk about, unite, zygote, and then blah blah blah. And then let's go, this is the implantation which I was talking about, blastocyst, and then hormone level increase, and that's how the female period stops, and the ovaries are not releasing egg. This is what it talks about on the 4th week, 5th week. And then the 6th week is neural tube closes. The neural tube is right here, this closed. And then a brain develop, and the heart development start, and the heart starts beating on the 6th week. You can see here heart, other organs are also starting to form structure, nearly formation of eyes and ears develop small. Show me where it says the bone first develop and then dress the bones. This is from the Mayo Clinic. So 7 weeks in your pregnancy, okay, 5 weeks conception, your baby brain face are growing. Depression that will give rise nostrils, okay, and then lower limb, but that will become leg, a pair, and the leg arm. So the bones and the flesh are forming together. This is from the Mayo Clinic. If you are having still issue, you can just pursue and sue them and tell them to make a different type of development according to the Quran. So, and the 8 weeks, you see, still it keeps talking about, and you can see the pictures, and none of them are showing that embryo, when the embryo start developing, the lump change into the bones, and then bones dress into the flesh. Also, there is no single evidence of the blood clot during the pregnancy till the delivery. This is a scientific error for the blood clot. And the blood clot, if it appears, then there should be a Lovinax or other medication, which is kind of injection, has to give to the mother to dilate that, or some reason sometimes we need to abort the child. If it is very minor, might be it's okay. So blood clot is
It's
unacceptable.
time. It's time. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think we are going in circles on this issue of blood clot because how should I address you? Bitter? I think that's your name, Mr. Bittertooth. I don't even know how to address you. But look, I have asked you 3 times now. Get your objections. See what you do. You did present an article, and thank you for doing that. But then you gave your pseudoscientific, quackological understanding of how the science works. And this is my point. When that quackologist comes to you and says, "See how science works? Science works like this, and it works like this," and back away from him, back away, and tell him get it peer reviewed. I'm going to challenge you again in front of everybody. I have shown you articles where this issue of the blood clot, 3 embryologists and one of the most world-renowned embryologists in the world today, Dr. Keith Moore, they talked about the scientific accuracy of the blood clot. I have also shared with you articles. In fact, let me get that in front of you again. Where this issue of the blood clot was submitted to the scientists, and they showed exactly how this correlates with the embryo, because there's a stage where you've got blood in it, but the blood's not circulating. This resembles a blood clot. You see, Bitter, you really got to be a specialist in the field so that when you get your eyes on that thing and you really work with it, then you'll be able to appreciate it, which you don't have that experience. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you, and I want you to take 10 seconds of my time. Your objections and how you think science is supposed to work. I am challenging you here today. Write it down, get it peer reviewed, and get it in front of the scientific community. Will you do that? Yes or no? And I'm going to pay for your expenses. Answer this. Take 10 seconds of my time and answer for me.
So I actually work in a educate healthcare, and I know a lot better than you.
Okay.
I know the layman. They think with the eye of Quranic verses, that's not gonna help you. But
You're not
it's
answering my
just
question. I didn't
no.
ask for your background. Get your criticisms peer reviewed. Get it in front of the scientific community.
I
Will you do that? Yes or no?
I provide you the authentic source, which is a
You're
Mayo
not
Clinic.
answering my question.
Are you gonna challenge the Mayo Clinic?
You guys are going to and forth, and
Okay.
this
Well,
is
I'm
going to
just
be
giving him a little bit of my time. And this is, let me just
your
take my
time.
time. This is what I've noticed from all of these atheist people. They said, you see, this is the way science works. It works like this. It works like this. And the Mayo Clinic says this. They're giving their own understanding of science. When I say,
Even
okay, publish it, they will never do that because they will know that upon the peer review process, it will
Let me ask
be
you,
deemed as,
why?
hold on, let me
Wait,
finish my time.
better to
It will
let
be
him
deemed
complete
as
now.
nothing more than pseudo-scientific garbage, which has no bearings on modern, which is not based on modern science, but polemical. That's where this stuff is coming from. There was a Muslim Christian or Muslim atheist debate. This is what this so-called research is coming from.
Okay,
so
it's time.
There's too many scientists who have already spoken on the scientific accuracy. Now, the right way science is supposed to work, you got to get your criticisms published.
It's time, Nadir. It's time.
Yes.
Okay, Bitter Truth, you can give your reply.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when there is intercourse, a man ejaculate over 300 about 300 million sperms, and one sperm is enough to fertilize the egg. And when it enter into the egg, it could be a male, it could be a female. Then it divide into the cells, and then it is called morula. And then when it divided into the 16 or more, then it called blastocyst. This blastocyst attach with this uterine line, and then it forms a baby, and the baby, the embryo, is taking nutrient from the mother. So there is no any single development stage which is talking about is it turns into the blood clot. None of the scientific embryologists or the scientific articles is talking about. It's only the developed by the Muslims, like Nadir Bhai and other people like that, who keeps trying to do their best to prove that Quran is scientific and the embryology is completely correct. Why don't you just go ahead and challenge the Mayo Clinic or any other hospital? Why they didn't specify that? Why they didn't show it onto their site that some at some stages it's turned into the blood clot. None of the stage is talking about the fetus turn at some point the semen turn into the blood clot, and then blood clot to the other way. Even then, the any if you just show me one of the hospital is talking about the stages, and it's going in this way, the way it in the Quran is showing, I will be embracing Islam right away. This was my first channel challenge, and again I'm challenging you the same way. If you show me that the at some point it's turned into the blood clot, none of the website the authentic sources is talking about, even the embryologist. You can bring any embryologist at any time who can just prove it. I definitely will then taking him his word. If he can prove that at this stage the semen turn into the blood clot, and then this blood clot change into the lump, and lump change into the bone, and then bone rest to the muscle. This is the Galen who talks about. And some other people, the embryologist Galen was Jew embryologist. And also there was other embryologists at the time of Muhammad, like Aristotle and Sharika and Shushrita. They also think the embryo develop in this way, and Muhammad he borrowed from them. And that's why he stick. And I know the laymen, they don't want to accept that, because their religion is going to fall under the scientific experiments. And that's the reason none of you
20
guys
seconds.
can 30 seconds. Okay, none of you guys can prove. If you can show me the stages where it turned into the blood clot, I definitely will accept religion.
Mhm.
But you are still not very well to explain. Even you just talking about Galen, sorry, the Keithmore and the other articles,
It's
but
time.
you are not giving me the authentic source. Thank you.
The problem here, I think, my friend, you don't understand how science works. Okay, I have shown you. Let me share my screen again. I have shown you this whole issue of the blood clot. Not only did I show you three embryologists who spoke of its scientific accuracy, I also showed you how exactly it works. But here is the article. It's been submitted to the National Library of Medicine, and we all seen this person run away when I asked him, now publish your article to refute this article here. This is the way science is supposed to work. But you don't want to do that. You want to run away because it will be viewed as though you are trying to explain how you think this embryology works. And upon the peer review process, that's why I'm willing to pay for it. It will be viewed as nothing more than pseudo-scientific garbage, which has no basis on modern science. But this nonsense is coming from polemical sources. There was this debate, and this guy tried to refute the Quran. This is the source of this so-called science. This will be deemed in the peer review process, and it will be thrown away. Here is the article in front of you from the National Library of Medicine, one of the most prestigious scientific journals. What you are calling a scientific error is actually published here as a scientific accuracy of the Quran. Okay, so now the way science is supposed to work, now you are supposed to publish and show, and this has been out for almost 20 years. 20 years Muslims have been arguing this and publishing, and it's been out there. My question here, well, this is from a 2009 article, but believe me, it's been out there for a long time. In 10 years or 20 years, no scientist has ever been arguing these things that you have argued. What's going on? You see, it's not coming. These objections are not coming from the scientific community. They're coming from that atheist pseudoscientific quackologist and his pseudoscientific analysis, which we have all seen him run away from publishing your works. Publish to criticize what you're seeing up here. But there's many ways to shoot down what you are saying. You're saying, okay, blood clot is wrong. Chalo, let's go along with it. Let's go along with it. But as I have pointed out to you, this word Alaqaa has more than one meaning. It also means something which you can hang, something which clings. We can see here. And I want you to correct yourself. You said this could only mean blood clot. Look at this hadith where Alaqaa is being used. In this hadith, he says he hung it around his neck. You know what that word is, hung? It's the word Alaqaa. So here we see, Tumhara kya ta'alluq hai? Alaqaa has more than one meaning. So your argument is being destroyed from multiple angles. Alaqaa just doesn't mean blood clot, which we have already shown is scientifically accurate, but Alaqaa also has other meanings, as you are seeing in front of you. So first, I want you to come back and correct yourself in saying that Alaqaa can only mean blood clot. I'm refuting you from the Arabic language. I'm refuting from the Urdu language which you speak. So please correct your misunderstanding of the language. So, but going back, I know
it's time.
Okay, I'm sorry, my time's up.
Ghalib bhai, can you please share my screen?
Yeah, your screen is here.
Okay, you can see the stages. What the Quran says. Let's take it in this way. Okay, if one word is talking about it's leech like a substance or something like a clinging clot, it still remain a scientific error. On top of that, let me just read it. Sperm and egg unite, and I'm just reading from the Mayo Clinic. Its implantation, dividing ball of cells known as a blastocyst, has begun below the uterine lining, which is endometrium, which I was just talking about. And you show me where it's um, changed into a bone, and bone being formed by the covered by the dressed by the muscles, and none of the stage is talking in this way. This is completely incorrect, and this is again, I'm quoting you that the Quranic hadith, Quran and hadith is I'm quoting you, it's completely wrong. And it's by the Galen, who thinks in this way that when the female period stop, this blood is help in developing the baby. And this is what Muhammad, he takes those words and put it into the Quran. But nowadays we know there is not a single stage where it shows a blood clot, uh, nor like a bone and then dress the bone with the muscles. This is completely unscientific. And I want you to I'm challenging you again. If you show me those stages from authentic source, like I'm showing you the authentic source, right? This is the Mayo Clinic. Nobody can challenge this. And I also can bring up the Cleveland healthcare. I'm also can bring up the other healthcare, who's similarly talking about the same stages what the Mayo Clinic is talking about. You can see this is a Mayo Clinic. See, so I believe that the audience at least can understand where the problem is, and why you don't why you are unable to show me the concrete evidence like I am showing you. This is a concrete evidence that it's never been changed into the blood clot. It's never been changed to the bones, and then bones dressed to the by the muscles. That's incorrect, and this is what the Galen he taught, and the other people. I just I show you, I quoted like a Galen and Shushrita and Aristotle and the other embryologists who taught on that
It's time,
time.
Birut.
Oh, okay,
10
thank
seconds.
you.
10
Okay.
seconds.
Okay, 10
So
seconds. Yeah.
I waited for you to correct yourself. You said Alaqaa can only mean blood clot. That's not true. It could also mean something which you can hang around, something which clings. Can you take 10 seconds of my time and correct yourself on that?
No, this is your own interpretation. But let's move.
Okay, no, hold on a
Let's
second. I
okay.
did
Just
show you the reference
okay. Let's
where
just
Okay,
move
okay.
alaka
on.
means
This is
Can
something
you?
good.
which
This is good.
hangs.
Let him talk. You
Okay.
just said no. Okay,
Okay,
let him.
now I'm showing this in front of you. Okay, I'm showing you the word alaka. Look how it's being translated. He hung it around his neck and he used the word alaka. So he alaqaha fi unukihi. Can you see this? Can you see how alaka is referring to something which is being, he used that word to describe hung it around his neck. Can you see that on your screen? Oh, I'm sorry. Am I sharing my desktop? I'm
I
You
sorry.
are
saw
not
that.
sharing your screen. You are not
I
sharing your
Okay,
screen.
let me share it so you could take a look at this and correct yourself. Okay, can you see what? Can you see the hadith? How this word alaka is being used? Can you see that?
listen with this. You maximum can clear one error. Still, it's not clear to me.
Okay,
But
okay.
let's
So wait,
for
wait, wait,
for
wait,
the
wait. That's
sake
not
of
what I asked you. You said this
for
word
the
can only mean blood clot. No, it's not. I'm showing you. You are wrong. Can you
Peter
then
Tosh,
retract
you
that
can
why.
speak
statement?
on your turn. Please let him
Yeah.
continue.
Can
Yeah.
you retract your statement?
No, because every single translator and the tafsir, all of them are talking about the blood clot. You are the
Hmm.
first, and I know the modern Muslims
Okay.
are
So, guys,
interpreting in a
I'll
different way.
just, you guys
Yeah.
are interrupting. Nadir, you
Hmm.
can just ask him yes or no. If he says yes, then,
Okay. Let it.
it's okay.
Okay.
He can answer in his own turn.
Yeah.
So, I am going to reverse your timer, Nadir, 30 seconds back. So, now you can reply. So, you have
Okay.
1 minute and 30
So
seconds.
So he
Yeah.
said he does not want to take back his false statements because every scholar on the Arabic language who has spoken about this said it has three different meanings. Okay. And not only that, but his case gets worse. Not only does it mean something which hangs, but it also means leech like substance. Let me find that for you real quick here, if I can find it. So this is something which, as once again, he says, oh, but the scholars are restricting the meaning to blood clot. That is absolutely false. You are making claims which you have no evidence to back up. Okay? I will ask for you to show the evidence for that. Anybody who speaks Arabic and even Urdu can see you are wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, but anyways, let's go back and see another meaning of the word. It also means leech. Okay? This is what astonished the scientists, that not only does it mean blood clot, which is scientifically accurate, I showed you exactly how it resembles a blood clot. You ignored it, but you said, let me show you my understanding from this Mayo Clinic article. Okay, that's fine. That's your understanding. Okay, but that's not what the scientists pointed out to you, and you're not dealing with it. But let's keep going. Let's
10
keep going with
seconds.
this. And here we see it means leech. And I'm going to show you the reference in which it said, embryologists pointed out over here that the embryo is like a worm like body, which is
It's
exactly like a
time.
leech.
Time.
And that's what alaka means. So retract your false statement now,
Okay,
because it
it's
also
time,
means
Nadir.
leech. Go ahead.
It's time, Nadir.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me to retract my statement until or unless you show me through the Tafsir Ibn Qasir or Tafsir Ibn Abbas, the previous writers who write it down the Tafsir, and they talk about blood clot. They never call it something different. And the other thing remaining is a bones that the lump change into the
Okay.
bones, and then the bone dress with the muscle. This is another scientific error. And there is even you didn't go touch the hadiths which talks about the embryo. When the embryo develop, that's the time the angel is asking. And there is, I mean, multiple questions why the god he doesn't know, and he needs an angel to tell him there's a blood clot, there is a this and that. And the other thing, the embryo, the angel is asking, is this going to be a male or female? This is completely a chaos in the scientific history. If you bring up and show it as a evidence that, see, this is what the science is, through the Quran and Hadith, this is completely false, and it's again backing up to that time. It might be only that time Galen and other people, embryologists, because they think in this way. That's why the Muhammad, he put it into the same way, and that's the reason it's a scientific error. You're supposed to show me the empirical evidence, which I just shown through the Mayo Clinic, and I can show you the stages whenever I have a next my next turn. Again, I can show you, and you show me this through the stages where it turned into the blood clot, and then it turned into the bone, and then from bone dressed with the flesh. Show me any single hospital or the medical university which is talking about in this way, and this transition which I can
One
easily
minute.
understand, and I can accept that. So I think I just completed. Thank you.
1 minute. You have still 1 minute.
Oh, still I have 1 minute. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this is something really I'm kind of disappointment. I thought you may gonna bring something really fact. Like I just share Mayo Clinic. I have also share Cleveland, which is talking about the male reproductive system, and I show you. I look at it that it's not even between the backbone and the ribs, and also I've shown through the development of each week, it's not turning into the blood clot, and it's not even turning into the
10
bone, and it's
seconds.
not even addressed bone by the muscles. This is completely wrong. So my turn is finished. I want you please show me the empirical evidence through the through those associated
Time.
which
It's
I
time.
just shown you. Thank you.
Okay,
Hmm.
Nadir. It's your turn, please.
So you want me to show you and show you how? No, look at the fallacy he's doing here. Well, let me start with the first fallacy. He says, "Show me from Ibn Kathir that it could have some other meaning." This is called switching the burden of proof. You, you are supposed to show us today the evidence for what you are talking about. That in the Arabic language, Alaqa can only mean blood clot. You are to show us from Ibn Kathir that. Not me that I'm going to go run after but you see that atheist pseudoscientific quackologist. They do not see the need. There's no burden of proof. All the burden of proof is on my shoulder. This is the way they view this debate. Like even the people watching this debate, they say this guy who's talking, he has no burden of proof to say, and he just makes a claim, and that's it. I got to go run and disprove and show him he's wrong. No, you are to show the evidence for what you are saying. As far as your appeal to the Mayo Clinic in Cleveland, no, I don't have to show you where you are wrong in this. That's not how science works. How science works is you get your quackological analysis of these articles, because that's really what it is, and you submit it to the scientists and let them peer review it, not me. I am not an embryologist. And then they should publish, because remember, our works have been published. All of these alleged criticisms, and we all saw on this videotape, you run away from the peer review process, from the right way how science is supposed to be evaluated. If there is an article out there, as we saw on the most prestigious websites talking about the scientific accuracy of these things, then you are supposed to write or if whoever, from the scientific community should now write an article, say, whoa, you're publishing errors on your website. All these embryologists are all wrong. That's the way it's supposed to work. So yeah, I backed away from your quackological analysis. I don't want to get into all of that nonsense. That's not my job here. So now you said, okay, but now I will help you out. And I want to get to the issue about the bones before flesh. They both simultaneously, because I think we whipped a dead horse over here. Can you guys see my screen over here?
Yeah, we can.
I'm
It's 30
showing
seconds.
you now.
30
I'm
seconds.
showing you from the dictionary, an Arabic dictionary. Alaqa means leech. Okay, there's the word alaqa. It means leech. I am showing you from science. This is talking about the embryo. It called it a worm-like body. Look at the direct correlation of the word alaqa with modern science. So the third time, I will ask for you to retract your false statement that alaqa can only mean blood clot. No, it doesn't. I am showing you an Arabic dictionary. Now, if you say the early tafsirs restricted the meaning to blood clot, no, they didn't. You are to provide evidence for the claims you are
It's
making.
time.
That's how
It's time.
debates are supposed to work.
It's
Go
time.
ahead.
Can you please share my screen so I can show him Tafsir Ibn Qasir? Okay, this is a Tafsir Ibn Qasir, and he talks about what I was talking about. He created man from a clot. See, so that's a problem. Khalaqal insan min so yeah, this is a problem. You can see it right away. It talks about the human being created from a clot, which is a blood clot. So I'm just showing you from Tafsir Ibn Qasir, but I can show you more if you really want, and everybody can see that. Through the if you they have Tafsir Ibn Qasir or Tafsir Ibn Abbas or other tafsir, why they didn't think in this way after 100 and some years, the new modern Muslim, because they know this is a scientific error, so they are just trying to clear it by their own ways. They are using their brain, just trying to make another interpretation, bring it into the Quran to make it compatible with the modern science, which is not going to work. We want you to show through the Tafsir Ibn Qasir, like I just show you, Tafsir Ibn Abbas, the old authors who translated the blood clot, the Alaqa as a blood clot. I just share you the previously about 100 years how many people's translated as a blood clot. I gave you the name Yusuf Ali, Muhammad Zafarullah, and Hamidullah. I gave you a lot of people names, and I show you on the screen. Why don't you just go ahead and talk to them? Why they translated it's this as a blood clot? The other thing, this between loin and ribs, it's never been in between loin and ribs. It's always by the pelvis. This is completely a false statement. And then the sperm is formed by the testes, by the testicle. It's not by somewhere else. So this is another scientific error. You have to show me between loin and ribs, which you're supposed to show me, and the ribs are above
1 minute.
the pelvis. So now you are completely fail, and you are just personal attacking. I don't care. You are my brother still. I love you. I know you might be have a lot of anxietiness just because I'm just bringing the fact. You supposed to show me the way I just show, and bring up the facts, which is through the authentic website, authentic from the Medicare,
20
from
seconds.
medical site. You are just showing me the Google search and those articles, which is not even proving that. I mean, which is not supporting that. I'm asking you, simply give me the authentic
5
source.
seconds.
So yeah, my time is up. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
So you
Okay,
don't.
I'll interrupt you, Nadir,
Yeah, yeah,
just for
sure.
1 minute. Okay, guys, this is the last rebuttal session that Nadir is going to do right now. After that, you can, or right now, you can send your questions in the chat and we are going to answer those. So keep your questions precise and do mention the name which participant are you asking the question from. And we are also going to get a brief reply. If a question is directed at Nadir, we are also going to get a brief reply from Bitter Truth. But majorly, if the question is from Nadir, Nadir is going to answer. And if the question is from Bitter Truth, then Bitter Truth is going to answer. So, yes, please, Nadir.
Yeah. So problem is you are misunderstanding the very sources you're quoting. Nowhere did Ibn Kathir provide an explanation stating what you want. You showed a translation of the Quran where the word clot, and that's fine. That's one of the meanings of the word. That's no problem with that. But Ibn Kathir, nobody said what you are saying today. You are saying that Alaqa can only mean blood clot and nothing else. Oh, for God's sakes, nobody has ever made this claim. Ibn Kathir, the reference you stated the explanation did not state that. You showed a translation of the Quran, but no, like, be rest assured, anybody who can speak the language, even in Urdu, can know that that's just not true. Okay, now I am showing you for the second time, for God's sakes, here. This is an Arabic dictionary. This is, I'm showing you the word alaqa. I'm showing you the word leech. So it means something which clings, as we saw from the hadith where he alaqaha, he hung it over. We saw that meaning, and that actually is scientifically accurate, as the embryo hangs and clings just like what you saw in the hadith. That's accurate, and that is what is shocking the scientists. You got this one word. Every meaning is scientifically accurate. So I will show you again now. Here is a dictionary, okay, where I put that word in, leech. Look how Alqa came up here. This is what all the Arabic scholars and people are telling you. This means three, has three meanings. And then I'm going to Google Translate. It comes up again, leech. Now imagine that. And now let's go, and Dr. Keith Moore showed how Alaqa means leech. He's one of the most revered embryologists in the world today. He showed that this is absolutely scientifically
One
correct.
minute.
Let's look at this reference, Anatomy Demystified. Now let's look at Dr. Dale Lehman. Look at the scientific accuracy. He says, he goes on, he says, another membrane, talking about the yolk sac, talking about, this whole embryo thing. He said that this is, at this point, by day 24, the connecting stalk appears in the middle of a now worm-like body. A worm-like body. That's a leech. That's exactly three meanings. Every meaning is scientifically accurate from the scientific point of view. Now, you don't like the word blood clot. Okay, fine. But now I have shown you from the hadith. I'm showing you from the dictionary. It has other meanings. How is it that you are just rejecting all of this? And then you appeal to Ibn Kathir. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to address your issue about the bone, flesh and the whatever forming simultaneously. I'm sorry, the time is up, but we can definitely discuss that, and I will show you are wrong again. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, guys. So this is going to be the question answer session where you guys can ask questions in the chat, and we are going to communicate these questions to both the participants, and they can they can answer those questions. So the first question is from Valkyrie. Valkyrie is asking, Nadir, what is the name of the first human who went into space?
Oh, is it Armstrong? Is it trivia? I don't know. I'm guessing his name is Armstrong. I don't know.
So
I don't know how that relates to the debate.
I don't know if okay. So Bitter Truth, do you want to answer this one or not?
No, let's move on.
Okay. So Hakeem ji said, Nadir, if there are multiple meanings, why debating? Because if there are multiple meanings, why are you debating about?
Well, here's the thing: the word Alaqa has three meanings from the scientists, from the scientific point of view. And I've quoted three different embryologists. Every one of those meanings accurately describe the embryo. Now, I know you have your own interpretation of how this works, but one thing I want to point out to you, Hakeem, I'm not the one bringing up this issue. My opponent is. I'm just answering him, showing him that Alaqa means leech. It means something which clings, as we saw in the hadith, and he still doesn't want to correct himself. And then he says, and it also means a blood clot. So it's him who has a problem. And I will ask him once more, after seeing all those references, please take back your false statement that it can only mean blood clot. It doesn't. I just showed it to you from the dictionary itself.
Okay, so now, Bitter Truth, you want to reply to this?
This can you share my screen so I can just let me just I'm sorry, it's dropped.
Your screen is sharing is
it's
just
gone stopped. Yeah, let me just take it back. Where is the Tafsir Jalalain? Now I'm gonna just quote you from the Tafsir Jalalain. It's even talking about a blood clot. Not only Jalalain, but it's Tafsir Ibn Qasir, Tafsir Ibn Abbas, and the other authors. All of them translated a blood clot. And let's take a look. If it's the embryo, it looks like a leech, or how it looks like. It doesn't even look like a leech. If I'm just gonna share my screen, I can show you. This is even a fallacy when someone is talking about and trying to prove their argument and talking about that it looks like a leech. Look at that. Does it looks like a leech? I don't think it looks like a leech. So this is
Yeah, it
this
does.
doesn't looks like a leech to me, but the translations have been made about over 100 years, never been translated as a leech, but it was more likely translated a blood clot. This is only the first time I'm seeing that the people are starting, because they know that this is completely false, this is wrong, and it's not supportive, and it brings up a scientific error, as well as like the bone formation first, and then the muscles dressed up onto the bones. This is another scientific error. I show you the stages, Nadir Bhai, and where you can see bone. There was no bone appear, but it comes together with the flesh and bone simultaneously growing together. It's not like a
No, it
bone
doesn't. That's
first
false. Yeah,
and then forming the muscles. This is completely false as well.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, should we go to the next question, or you would
Well, I
want to
just wanted to make
briefly
one
respond?
point here. You have
Okay.
not shown any reference that they both form simultaneously. That's an internet hoax, by the way. I'm familiar with what you're saying. That actually doesn't happen. But anyway, the Quran doesn't really talk about these things. But I will challenge you to show a reference for what you're talking about. But anyways, that picture which you've basically posted there, that does look like a leech.
Okay.
You know.
So, so the next question is, okay, where it is. Okay. So Sachin Deshpande said, why early Muslim scholars around the time of Abbasids, for example, did not say the same? Why only the recent scholars say this? I think this question is directed at you, Nader. So this guy is, our brother here is asking that why didn't the early Islamic scholars try to explain it in the same way, or translate it in the same way as you are
Mhm.
doing right now?
So the thing is this, that you first of all you need to realize it's just not Muslim scholars who are seeing this correlation between science and the Quran. This is also scientists who have also saw the correlation. So it is out of our hands. This is a question you need to talk to the embryologists. Okay, that's a question you need to raise to them. I've quoted 3 embryologists. I've also shown you, articles submitted to the scientific journals. But the answer is very easy. This, first of all, the misunderstanding my opponent is having, he's thinking that just because he sees an English translation where Alaqa is translated as clot, and that's perfectly fine, this somehow negates all its other meanings. This is a misunderstanding you are having, and I'm trying to correct it. That does not negate. And I think the whole audience can see, yes, it has more than one meaning. So for my opponent to come and show, look, alaka is translated as clot, that does not show that the other meanings don't exist. And I've shown you from the hadith the other meanings, I've shown you from the dictionary the other meanings. But the point here is, the people, first of all, going back to the issue of the scholars, they did not have the science in front of them where they can now do the matchup and see. They didn't have that. So how are they supposed to say these things? Okay.
Nadir, should we
Secondly,
move on to the next question?
yeah, they
This is
wanted to
getting,
keep their issues. Okay, go ahead, please.
yeah, yeah.
Can I
Okay, if
respond
you,
him?
Yeah.
yeah. So you want to respond? This is
Yeah,
good.
can you share my
But
screen again, please?
okay.
It should be
Nadir, would you
only.
allow that, or should we go to the
Yeah,
next
go ahead, respond. Yeah, yeah.
question? Okay. Okay.
So I show you, you said that this is the internet or the website which is against the Islam, and doing that. I wasn't showing against the Islam, but this is from the Mayo Clinic. See, and the Mayo Clinic itself is they are very transparent, and they are giving the stages. None of the stages shows it's turned the semen turned into the leech like substance or something like that. But where the sperm goes into the egg, unite with the egg and become a zygote, and then it starts the cell division. None of the stages is telling me that it's turned into the blood clot, and blood clot to the lump, and lump to the bones, and then the bones dress up with the with the flesh. I'm showing you the authentic source. It's not against the Islam. It's not biased. This is unbiased source, and this is from the medical healthcare. So you can't even challenge them. I know, I'm 100% sure you know Mayo Clinic. And um, this is that's all. I mean, this there is nothing. It What you said, it shows into this site. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to move to the next question. The question is from individuals to Nadir. Question for Nadir: why does Islam need validation from science to prove its authenticity? And then why does Islam reject scientific claims that are in contradiction to its verses? So yeah.
Science, there are no, as we have seen in tonight's debate, there are no verses in the Quran which contradict modern science. As for why does science need validation from science to prove its answer, the Quran has many ways to prove it. Now, what you need to understand is that it is the scientists themselves who are reading the Quran and who are coming to the conclusions that this book agrees with modern science. I'll just give you another example, and I'll have to show it. I'll share my desktop in just a second. The scientific researchers actually mention the Quran inside their research, where they say the Quran, because of its view and its scientifically correct statements regarding alcohol, because of that, it is now, as a result, Muslim women are 50 times less likely to give birth to a child who suffers from fetal alcohol syndrome. Now, why don't you take your criticism and give it to those scientists? Why are you giving me that? Now they're the one, and nobody's telling them to do this. This is something which they are doing on their own. So the correlation between the science and the Quran is not, it's not just Muslims who are making these correlations, but it's the very scientists themselves. And I'll share that reference with you. But going back to the kind of like what the issue, which my opponent, the mistake he's making, he says about, he showed an article from Mayo, leech, blood clot, all these things are not mentioned inside that one specific article he gave. But I've shown you other references where it is mentioned. Okay, it mentioned blood clot, it mentioned leech, like a worm-like figure, and was so astonishing. He actually posted a picture of this embryo. It looked like a leech. It looked like a worm. That's what the scientists are so amazed about with the Quran. And I've quoted to you 3 embryologists who spoke about this leech-like appearance of the embryo that is mentioned in the Quran.
Nadir, can we keep it brief?
Oh, sure.
Bitter Truth, would you like to respond to it? Why does Islam need validation from science? Do you have any,
Yeah,
you know,
because there is a
please keep it
scientific.
brief. Yeah,
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 because
please.
there is a scientific error, like I mentioned in Quran, embryonic stages, where it talks about that it turns into the blood clot. Well, when during the intercourse, when the sperm ejaculate, they goes through the uterus to the fallopian tube, where the celiacs are pushing the egg towards to the uterus, and that's the place where it penetrates. The semen doesn't go directly and attach with the uterus. It goes to the fallopian tube, penetrate the egg, and it fused inside the egg membranes, and then it travels towards to the uterus, and that's how it attach. So these all the things is not mentioned in Quran. That's why these people are doing interpretation, and they are trying to correct their religion, because these scientific claims in Quran are unscientific, are not even correct, are even not close to the science. And that's the reason they came up, and they just want to clear them up. And like a Zakir Naik, Nadir Bhai, and other people, they're just trying to clear them up, and that's the reason they are wholly sticking with the modern science and trying to prove it. Like I just show you the bone form first, and then dress the bone by the flesh, by the muscle. None of the stage, you guys can check by the websites, and you can see the fetal development, embryonic development stay week by week, you are not gonna find blood clot. You are not gonna find blood, the bones, and then the bones dress up with the muscles. You're not gonna find those early stages, because this is all incorrect. They all form together, and you can see with the embryonic pictures. It's right onto the websites. I just show you two of the references, and it is more likely neglecting the Quranic verses. It's telling us these rare verses are wrong. This is basically refuting, the science is refuting the Quranic verses. That's the reason these people just trying to interpret it and trying to be close as possible, and that's what they are doing for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, so next question is for Nadir, and it's from Angel from Sky, and somehow his question is not showing in the StreamYard chat, but it is there in the chat. So Angel from Sky, uh, Nadir Ahmed, why Allah Almighty did not send an Arabic dictionary for His stupid creation, whom He kicked out of the heaven? So maybe it's relevant. If you think it's relevant, you can answer. If you don't, it's up to you. Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna respond to abuse.
No, but he's not abusing you. He's abusing all of us, all of mankind. So
Mhm.
not even
So
abusing.
now
He's saying
this is
his
this is
stupid creation. So we
yeah.
are the
Look,
stupid creation here.
look.
I don't
The
think that there is any abuse to you here,
here
Nadir.
he's now trying to attack the sources which contradict what he believes. So he's saying there should be no use of an Arabic dictionary. That means when we study New Testament, throw away the Hebrew. I'm sorry, the Koine Greek dictionary. When we study Hebrew, throw away all those dictionaries. Allah, God, Yahweh, Jesus, they don't need dictionaries. So needless to say, this is complete nonsensical argument. Of course, the Arabic language, Hebrew, and I guess Koine Greek, these languages have been preserved. And just as Jews appeal to the dictionary to show the meanings of words, Christians do the same with the New Testament. Muslims are no different, and there's nothing wrong with appealing to a dictionary to show the meanings of words. But what I wanted to kind of show tonight is it is not just us. I'm going to share my screen here, if I may. If you could see my screen, it is not just us who is making a correlation between science and the Quran. Now, in the following peer-reviewed study, by the way, okay, this was published in the European Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. It said the Islamic faith promotes the absence of alcohol. So he's talking about alcohol verses. Then they show the good of it. They say Muslim women are 50 times less likely to
I
give
think we are
birth to.
straying somewhere else, Nadir.
I'm sorry, what's that?
So yeah, because he objected that Allah
Yeah.
could have sent a dictionary.
Okay. I was just
So
showing
that
how
was the
it's
objection. You
scientists
are
who
going
are
somewhere else.
actually making the correlation between our book and
Okay,
science. It's
and
not just us.
Angel from Sky has clarified it. I am the most stupid man on earth. So he was not calling you
Okay.
stupid at
Okay.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dictionaries are
So
important.
okay, dictionaries are important. Okay. So there is another question for Nadir. Jazak has said, for Nadir, could it be that by seeing aborted fetuses, medieval people thought it was a clot, since the fetus was covered in blood?
Since the fetus was, I mean,
Covered because
hypothetically, I mean, okay, if we were to,
when a fetus gets aborted, there's a lot of
yeah,
blood.
if we were to like hypothetically assume, well, how did you come up with a scientifically accurate statement? Because remember what was published in the journals to the scientists, that the blood clot is a very accurate description of the embryo at that stage, because right now it's filled with blood, but it's not circulating. And the specialists like Dr. Keith Moore and the embryologists who've really put their eyes on that thing, they are the ones. 3 different embryologists are testifying that resembles a blood clot. So
Okay.
now, hypothetically, could your explanation be a possible way that he could have came to this scientific knowledge? Yeah, but what further astonished the scientists is that the word Alaqa has 3 other meanings: something which clings, and a leech-like, and something which is
Okay.
leech-like.
Okay. So yeah.
Every meaning describes the embryo.
Okay. So bitter truth, you want to respond to this?
Yeah, why the previous authors, they never translated as a leech like substance or clinging like a leech or something. They always, like I've shown you, I've mentioned two of those, Tafsir Jalalain and Tafsir Ibn Qasir. They both were talking about a blood clot, and none of the translator during this 100 year translated as a leech. All of them translated as a blood clot, and this is the biggest problem. If there is a blood clot during the pregnancy, more likely they have to abort this pregnancy, or they have to give a treatment to cure it and save the baby. Because what happens if the blood clot happens during the pregnancy, it's gonna stop the circulation, stop the nutrient flow into the baby from the mother, and that's going to be the baby development issue. That's the reason it's not even acceptable to happen to have a blood clot during the pregnancy. So I think this is remaining a scientific error.
Okay, so the next question is for Nadir from Individualist. Individualist is saying, question for Nadir: what was the significance of telling the Arabs about Alaqa and not telling them about bacteria and cause of infections?
Well, if I don't understand this question. Like, oh, this is I think what you're saying is that you should include other science or scientific things, in the book. I guess I'm not understanding the objection here. But what I would say is that, when if God wants to show that there is something which is miraculous about his book, he can choose any way he wants to demonstrate that scientific miracle. Now, that's really not what the subject of tonight's topic was, but I guess I'm a little bit lost on the question. But going back, going
Maybe
back
he wants to ask here that why didn't Allah tell us about the microorganisms? Did he even know about them?
Well, this is an argument from silence. Why would he want to do that? I guess is maybe the question here. I mean, again, we're going back to what is the purpose of the Quran? The Quran is not a scientific textbook. Like I just go back on my bookshelf and pull it. That's not the purpose of the Quran. Okay, this is a book of guidance. It will appeal to science in some ways to better improve people's lives. Like, for example, we saw from the research on it gave a scientifically correct statement regarding alcohol. It will every once in a while appeal to science to demonstrate its science that he is in fact the creator God, because he would know these scientifically correct statements. I think where the mistake where my opponent is, he's read a bunch of English translations and they all say clot, 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 clot. So because he read these translations, he is erroneously assuming that it can only mean clot and it cannot mean anything else, in spite of the fact of all the references given to him.
Yeah, should we move on? Okay, Bitter Truth, you want to reply to this one?
Yes, it is his own assumption, but I bring up the scientific, medically, how the fetus development, and if there is a blood clot, and also I have shown him the translation. See, what he is translating is not showing on that. So the question is why the other previous translators never translated in a different way, like a leech-like substance. Why they always translate as a blood clot? The
What
other
verse
thing,
are you talking about? Can you tell me what verse you're talking about? I'm sorry, I'm missing the verse.
I think it was chapter. Let me just pull it up.
Okay.
It's chapter 23, verse 12 to 14. It's actually chapter 96 also. It's chapter 22, verse 5 also. There is a lot of, verses. That's all of them are talking about a blood clot.
Okay, so there is another question. Jazak is asking, Quran calls itself Mubin, the clear one. Why is there room for misinterpretation at all? So another please be brief about these, because I think
it is off topic. It's really not science related. Let's just move on and get to science related.
Okay, you don't want.
Yeah.
Bitter, do you want to answer to this?
That's really.
If he answers, then I'll answer.
Yeah. Okay. Let's then move on. Okay.
Yeah.
So for Nadir, if a wire from a battery first goes up and then comes down, the source is still the battery. Nadir, I don't. If you want to respond to this,
I don't understand the objection.
I think it's in reference to the testicles not producing the sperm, but the backbone producing the sperm. Yeah, it's up to you.
I guess, so going back to that the issue here is, does the vas deferens reside between the backbone and the ribs? Yes, it does. Now you can spin your own interpretation that's fine,
Mhm.
okay? But from our interpretation, which we're showing you, which is valid, it is undeniable that the vas deferens is between the backbone and the ribs. It's just like this. I don't see any problem with understanding it that way.
Okay, bitter truth, you want to respond to this one?
I'm sorry, I was away. Can you please repeat again, Nadir bhai?
So can you read below the screen? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so Argin Cooper is saying if a wire from a battery first goes up and then comes down, the source still is the battery. So he's talking about the testicles
Oh,
and the backbone issue.
yeah. So
Yeah.
he has a misunderstanding of how science of the science. First of all, there's no sperm in the testicles. There's only seminal fluid. Okay. So
Okay.
basically, it's a seminal fluid which comes up from the testes. It goes through the vas deferens. Then the prostate squeezes its enzymes
So
into
you
it.
are saying that you are saying that sperm is not born
It's
in the
not in the
testicles.
testes,
I can
right?
Okay,
respond.
bitter truth, you want to answer to this?
After it comes out, right at this point of ejaculation, when the prostate squeezes its enzymes into it, now it becomes sperm. That's how
Okay.
science works.
So yeah, bitter truth, you want to respond to this one?
This is completely false. This is, I can call it fallacy. Why? Because sperm formation is in the testes, and how the testes stimulate it's through the anterior pituitary gland, which is base of the brain. It sends the hormones to the testes. That's how they stimulate, and then they produces the semens or the sperm, and this immature sperm stores into the epididymis, where it become mature, and then epididymis is transporting those sperm through the vas deferens by the seminal vesicle, where it supplies the fructose, which is more likely sugar, which is really needed for the sperm. And then there is also another fluid come from the prostate that help these semens to flow and ejaculate. So there is a bunch of things. So where if you castrate any animal or a human, will they able to produce those sperms? My question to Nadir bhai.
Neither you want to respond to that?
No, they're not going to be able to. If you castration, you're not going to be able to produce semen because you don't have the seminal fluid. I think you guys are confused between seminal
So you are
fluid.
saying, just to
Yeah,
clarify here, you are
yeah,
saying that if a person is castrated, he would not be able to produce semen,
yeah. He's not going to be able to produce
and
semen because he
so
doesn't
the
have the
sperm is a
seminal
separate thing from
fluid.
semen. Yeah.
What's stored in the testes is a seminal fluid. Okay, you guys. I think, and now I'm not a doctor here, but please, guys, verify this. There is no semen in testes. There's seminal fluid. Semen is produced at the point of ejaculation by the
Ghalib bhai, can
prostate
you share
gland.
my screen?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can share your screen. Yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
anyway, but
Okay,
this is
this
yeah.
is okay. This is what I'm sharing is from the Cleveland University, Cleveland Medical Hospital. Let me just see where it is. I just share it. It's right here. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the
So
screen.
this
On the
is
screen.
okay from the screen. This is Cleveland Clinic. Now, Nadir Bhai, I want you to show me where it says this is called this is called epididymis or a seminal fluid. It's not even talking about in this way. This is your own interpretation. They produce, maintain, transport sperm, male reproductive, and semen's protective fluid. It's talking about this the testes, and then discharge sperm into the female. So let's see the anatomy, the glands and scrotum, testicle. The the testes are oval organ, about size of very large uh, olives, and that uh, scrotum secured at either structure called the spermatic cord. Why they call it spermatic cord? Most men have two testes. The testes are responsible for making testosterone, the primary male sex hormones, and for producing sperm. Within the testes are coiled masses of tubes called seminiferous tubules. These tubules are responsible for producing the sperm. It's not talking about the way you are talking. So this is completely false.
Okay, Bitter Tooth, you should check your camera. Maybe it's on. So yeah, Bitter
Okay.
Tooth, check your camera. I think it's on. You want to take care of that first. Okay, so I'll Nadir is dropped. Nadir is dropped actually.
Oh,
Nadir is dropped.
I'm curious because he was
Yeah. Okay.
misinterpreting.
There is a question for you here. Uh, we can take that one in the meanwhile till the time he comes back. Mm, uh, there was a yeah for Bitter Truth. Can you repeat what is the issue about formation of bones and then flesh in Quran? Is Quran order of events wrong? So Jazak is saying this. We'll wait for Nadir in the meanwhile. You can respond to this because he's basically asking you to repeat. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Nadir
yeah.
is there.
So
I got
Yeah.
I can. Can I
Okay.
respond?
Okay. Yeah. We can move on to the next question. We'll come back to this one later on.
Got you.
Okay. So there was Argin Cooper. Argin Cooper is saying for Nadir, the mistake you are committing is to attribute the source of sperm to the conduit passage rather than the origin of testicles. It's rather a comment. It was a super chat comment, so I
okay.
made it. So for Nadir, do you believe that there could be some sources where people might have studied through actual study of these things were copied and transferred in the holy books around? Humans were curious. So Nadir, do you think that there is a possibility that yeah, that people could have studied these things rather than learning about them miraculously?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if we were to just, be objective and we ask that question, what is the source of all of this science, which is accurate science, which has
Hmm.
amazed the scientists in the Quran? What is the source? Could he have copied it from another, likely source? Hypothetically, we should entertain that doubt. Yes, let's just entertain that. But why we say that's not a possibility is because if Muhammad was copying all this science from other sources, that doesn't make sense because number one, a lot of the science found in the Quran, which is scientifically accurate, is not found in those other books. That's the first reason. Secondly, if you were copying from that book, you will copy along the scientific errors as well as the other, evidence of plagiarism into your book, and we don't find any of this inside the Quran. So, and there's websites, by the way, where you can take a passage of one text and a passage of another, and it will actually show if it has been plagiarized because of the similarities between the two texts. We don't find that in the Quran. So we can rule out the possibility of religious borrowing from other sources when we debate the topic, is the Quran a scientific miracle, when that debate comes, and we'll show you why that's not a possibility.
Okay, Bitter Truth, you want to respond to this? Do you think that there is a possibility that these things were copied from somewhere else?
Yeah, it is possible, and more likely I've seen in Bible, Jew, the Jew book, also Jew holy book, which is called Torah, and these all pretty much similar when we are looking through the Adam and Eve story and the other things, and it sounds like they are copied from somewhere else. Might be the Mesopotamian stories where they think, and some of the things like embryology is developed in Quran on that time what the embryologist they think, and I show him the evidences where he can see that the Galen how he thinks, and Shashrita and other people, uh, how they think about the embryology, and
Okay.
it's the similar thing copied in Quran.
Okay, so the next question is from Sachin again. Nadir, there is no mention of ovum in early Islamic sources.
Mhm.
Do these assume that infant is in sperm which develops without fertilization? What do you think?
So this is the fallacy. Of arguments from silence.
Mhm.
Just because this ovum wasn't mentioned, therefore it is denying it. Okay, this is obviously a big fallacy. I'm sorry about my camera, by the way. I don't know why
Yeah,
it's blurring again.
I think you need to refresh your browser rather than yeah. It's the issue with the camera, not with the browser.
Yeah, it's with the camera. I'm sorry about that, guys.
Maybe
Um,
you put your hand in front of the camera for a little while and it will clear. Now remove it. Remove it.
did it auto?
No. I think you're using this Logitech Brio. This has this issue. Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Did it
Now it's a
focus?
little bit better. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so
So I'm sorry. Going back to my point. So this is a logical fallacy of argument from silence.
mhm.
So, but anyways, it gets worse. My question for you is, what do you say of all the scientific journals which talk about embryology and they only mention the sperm but not the egg? What would you say about that? Now you should now apply your same standard and say, you are denying the egg, the role of the egg, which of course we know is not true. So hey, just autofocused. so, so I guess my point to you here is you're committing the logical fallacy of argument from silence, and if you are objective, you'll have to also uh, deny many scientific periodicals which do the same.
Okay, Bitter Truth, you want to reply to this one?
Yeah, because
We are getting into the last 10 minutes of this question answer session.
okay,
Yeah.
ovum. Why ovum is not been mentioned in Quran? Because on that time the embryologists Galen, Chicharita, and Aristotle, and the other embryologists, they think the sperm itself, it travels into the woman womb and it's attached there, and then it changes the stages like. Change into the blood clot and then lump and then bone and then dress onto the bone, and this is what the Quran it talks about, exactly the same way what the embryologists talk about on that time.
Okay. Okay. So next question is from Argin Cooper. Nadir, do you know the impact factor of journal of IJHS, the journal that you, the journal from which the research paper is that you sent? You quoted from, it is 0.23. It is published from Qasim University. Qasim
Mhm.
University is a Saudi Arabian university, I think,
Right.
with the entire editorial board from Qasim University. There are no peer reviewers from any other university, even in
Mhm.
that one.
Yeah, but it's been published. What you're yeah, this is I told you very clearly. Muslims published their articles. They submitted it to the scientific community, and now what you are failing, whoever wrote this, is failing to realize it was published inside one of the most reputable scientific journals which we have today. I don't know their peer review process. I told you I don't know that,
So
but
IJSS
yeah,
means that
yeah,
0.23 out of a 10. So the journal
yeah.
is, maybe we can talk about it later.
But the point which is missing here, the point which
Yeah.
is missing here, it's been now 20, actually more than 20 years, which
Mhm.
Muslims have published their embryology, finding our scientific miracles to the general public, to the scientific community, as we have seen. It was published in one of the most prestigious scientific, journals out there. In 20 years, you guys couldn't publish one paper showing, oh no, this embryology is all wrong. In 20 years. So this is a clear debate victory on this point alone, because we
Mhm.
don't want to hear the quackologists. What they do, they come out of their little rat holes in these debates to try to say, look, Quran is wrong here. But wait, the scientific community is there. Submit your stuff to them and show them. But they don't do that because they know that if they were ever to submit their false arguments to the scientific community, it will be viewed as pseudoscientific garbage. And that was the challenge I presented tonight, which my opponent, he didn't accept.
Okay, but Better if you want to respond to this one,
Yes,
just
it is.
briefly.
It is like individual a website which has never been verified by scientific community, and it is what he is declaring his victory. It is by himself, but the audience can easily understand. He never able to show me authentic sources like I show the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland, Baby Center, fetal development in other websites, which is clearly is talking about the fetus development week by week. He was unable to show that because it's not in their website, and he's just showing in support his argument, he's showing his own website. I fully understand that, but you need to show me single empirical evidence which shows the development the same sense which the Quran says. If you show that, I definitely will accept that right away.
Okay, so we are into the last few minutes of this question answer session. Okay, so for Bitter Truth, okay, that one is done. Yeah, this is for Nadir. Quran 36:36 says everything in peer science tell as sexual reproduction happen from only one parent. So Quran does not
Mhm.
mention the woman. So the question is, why doesn't it mention the mother? It only mentions the father. Quran 36:36. I don't know what the verse says, but you
I
can
don't know.
reply. Maybe you can reply from the Quran. You can tell that if Quran mentions that there is a role of a mother in any way in the Quran, can you like tell us that?
Is well, of course. I mean, this is common sense. I mean, of course, women give birth to children,
Hmm.
and of course, we actually see many examples in the Hadith where I understand the question. First he talked about pairs, and then he talked about the role of the woman. See, the thing is, the Quran is not denying any of this. So here he's committing the logical fallacy of argument from silence. If you don't see, let's just go along with it. If you don't see something explicitly mentioning it, it's denying it. It's denying it. This is the fallacy of argument from silence. I will quote for you from Rational Wiki, which they talked about this fallacy. The only thing you can interpret about something which is not about what is the exact quotation I'm forgetting. Let me get in front of you real quick because I see many people are making this fallacy argument from silence here, and I will give you the exact quote. The only thing you can interpret from silence is silence. That is their official position on this. So these are all logical fallacies, which is being presented in tonight. Like for example, my opponent, he's saying, look, Alaqaa, all the stages which is mentioned in the Quran, it's not mentioned in his Cleveland article. Therefore, it is denying all that information. This is an argument from silence, you know,
Okay. Okay.
and,
So
and I think that's what the problem here is.
Nadir Jazak is saying, can you cite any medical source on embryology where ovum is skipped?
Oh, yeah. Let me do that real quick. Where they actually didn't mention anything about the ovum. Can I share my desktop?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can.
Okay. Yeah. And this should, fix first of all, it's an argument from silence.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
maybe that that one is real poor. Okay.
Right. Hold on, let me show the
Can
article
you?
because since he was
Yeah.
asked
Okay.
about this.
Okay.
Okay, so here is from Science Daily. Okay, boy or girl, it's in the father's genes.
But
So let's
he's
see.
asking a
Well,
scientific journal. Science Daily is a
this is
science
a
website.
scientific journal you're seeing. Okay, so I think we can find sperm. Sperm is mentioned. What about the egg? Is the egg involved?
This is a
Control.
science website. It is not a science journal.
Well, wait a second. Why is he not talking about the egg?
So he is saying that
Yeah.
can you cite any medical source? So, but this is just a website,
No, this is
not a
Science
journal.
Daily. Now let's
It's
look at the
supposed to
people
be
who
Okay, you
kind
are.
can
of.
quote it. You can
Okay,
quote it.
this is a scientific journal. If you want me to bring more, I can bring you more. Now, what he must now be, he must be consistent. He must now contact Science Daily, and I will challenge you, and I will challenge all these people, and be consistent and say this article is denying the role of the egg. Notice Control F, no egg mentioned. So be consistent with your quackological analysis here. But these people will never do that. They will never contact the scientific community like we Muslims do. And why? Because they know their arguments are false. Now, this is the challenge now. Contact those people and use the same argument you used against the Quran. They will never do that.
Can I respond?
Yeah, you can. You can
Yeah.
please.
So this science daily is similar to the Google. Peoples are inputting their thought about that, and that's why it's not even empirical evidence. The way I show like a medical source, if you show us a medical source, like I show Mayo Clinic, I show you Cleveland Healthcare, I've also shown you other sources, all of them associated with the medical source.
Mhm.
uh, the one you are showing, it's like a Google, like a
This is
Google search.
what are you talking about? This is what you're
Show
talking.
me
This is
show
no
me the
evidence for what you're
medical
talking
source,
about.
any
Yeah.
medical
Your
university
source,
clinic.
well, it doesn't matter.
You are just
Whoever wrote this
Okay,
interpreting
article,
guys,
you
it.
we
guys are
are
running away.
in the final
Look at
final.
them
Can
run
I just
away.
finish?
Contact them. Who It doesn't matter what the source is. You should now be consistent and contact them and say you are denying the role of
He's
the egg.
asking you medical
You guys
source.
won't do that.
Dude, he's asking you medical source.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Have you
This is
okay.
a
tried
So
reputable
medical
another
source?
scientific
question
journal.
for Nadir. Another
Yeah.
question for Nadir.
It's on
So
a
why does it?
technicality. I can't do it. Yeah. Okay.
Why?
Right.
Okay. So Abdul Majid Shorts is saying, For Nadir, why does it say in the Quran that the mountains were made early than the stars?
I don't know what verse he's referring to.
I think it's in Surah Anbiya.
Okay, we'll pull up the verse, but I think we don't. Do you really want to do that where we talk about debate these things? But we can do that. This is really not questions about what. See, all the questions really has nothing to do with what we actually debated. They're all bringing up kind of other issues. But let's go ahead and let's pull up the verse real quick.
I think this is where the 7 days of creation are mentioned, and in on the second day or the third day, the mountains are created, and the fourth day, the stars and the sun.
What verse are you talking about?
I don't remember it. I think it's Surah Anbiya or maybe somewhere else. I don't remember it. Guys, if you want to ask such questions, do mention the verses here so that we can get the answer properly. So, okay. So I think we are at the end here. Yeah.
Can I respond real quickly?
Yeah, better if you can.
Oh, thank you. So this is similar to the verse Surah Jinn, which talks about the angels throwing meteors towards to the jinn and hitting the jinns. And you see in Russia in 2012 or 2011, the meteors strike and about 3,000 people's been injured, and like thousands of windows been broken, the mirrors broken. So the thing is, this is like a misfire from the God. And now we know in our solar system we do have asteroid belts. Sometimes they collide and then a fragment comes towards to the earth, sometimes goes to the moon and somewhere. And the similar thing, I remember, Nadir bhai, you talk about the zilzala, like earthquake. That's a warning, right? You said that's a warning. I remember in the debate. Let me ask you, there is a moon quake, there is Mars quake. Who is doing sin there? Then there is a moon quake, there is a Mars quake. Can you please explain that?
No, what I actually said is these are just basically many different tests and trials which human beings go through.
Okay, so this is verses 9 to 12 of Surah Fussilat. In the verse 10, it mentions that the mountains are created on earth, and then in verse 12 it talks about sun and the stars being created. I can share my screen if you want, Nadir.
Yeah, go ahead, please. That'd be good.
Okay, so I will share my screen. So here in Surah verse number 10, here it's talking about, and he placed on it earth firmly set mountains over the surface, and he blessed it, determined therein its creature substance in 4 days without distinction. And then in verse number 12, he completed the 7 heavens with 2 days and inspired in each heaven its command, and we adorned the nearest heaven with lamps and as protection. This is the determination of the exalted Almighty. So on the 4th day, the mountains were created, but on the 6th day only.
No, I think you guys are misinterpreting. Well, first of all, the whole argument here can be defeated and destroyed by pointing out a simple fact. And that simple fact here is that this is talking about the miraculous creation of planet Earth. And when we talk about miracles, how God created certain things, okay, we don't apply science to that. That is something which occurs in atheist pseudoscientific quackology. In atheist pseudoscientific quackology, they apply science to things like Jesus walking on waters, Moses splitting the seas. From a scientific perspective, how did God do these things? Okay, but as I have shown, I think in my last debate, from a scientific perspective, and I've shown many references in which they say when it comes to miracle stories, talking about how God did certain things, we do not apply science to that. In fact, science cannot explain those things. Okay, so the fact that this is as you look in the Quran, this is a story of a miracle. And that raises a very important challenge. I'll challenge you. Why are we talking about the miracle creation stories in the Quran? Why are you running away from the natural science of the Quran? There are many verses in the Quran which deal with the natural science, not the supernatural. Why are we not talking about those? You see, because they are all scientifically accurate.
we just
So I
talk
think
about
that's a good enough
Okay,
explanation for
okay,
this
okay.
brief period of time.
Let's hear
Yeah.
out Bitter Truth here as well.
we,
Bitter Truth, you
we
want to say anything about this?
the audience can listen. We just talk about embryology. We just
Mhm.
talk about
Mhm.
coming between loin and ribs, and Nadir Bhai was unable to show us through the medical source. He was just showing the
Mhm.
articles through the Google search. That's not gonna help. They're supposed to, I was assuming he might be doing a lot better than this, but I'm so sorry, Nadir Bhai, I'm completely disappointed. Through
Mhm.
your arguments, you also talk about the test is never produced the sperm, which was
Right.
completely wrong. And I've shown you through the medical source the test is they
No,
produces
you
the
showed us
sperm.
your
And
interpretation.
no,
Well,
it's
let
not
me.
my
Can I say one thing
interpretation,
real quick?
it's from the medical source, Nadir Bhai. I'm
Yeah.
not
You are
quoting by myself.
interpreting
I
medical
can
sources.
explain by myself.
Guys, we are
Yeah.
just going
Here.
into
Yeah.
a mess here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
both of
Yeah.
let
you
me
have
just answer all of that. You see,
clarified your position.
what
Yeah.
your mistake, bitter truth, is really, quite frankly, where you are taking articles and journals, and then you start interpreting on how
No,
you
this
think
is not
science works.
article. This is
And
through
I
the
have
medical
already
source,
stated. Look,
and
I
I
I
think,
have
can.
guys,
already
we are
stated
going
tonight.
over one another. Bitter Truth, can you just,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
few sentences,
Yeah.
say what you want to, and then we will go to Nadir, and then we are
Yes.
going to conclude this session. So please, Nadir, let Bitter Truth
Yeah.
say what he wants to say first, and then we'll come to you. Okay, Bitter
Um,
Truth, what you
Thank,
want to say?
thank you very much. So I would say that today debate was good, very healthy, but it wasn't. I wasn't expecting that Nadir Bhai is going to be like this way. He's supposed to show me empirical evidence, like I show through the medical source, and I've shown the embryonic development week by week, and I've proved that there is not such a like blood clot in that embryonic development that turns into the lump, and lump turns into the bone, and bone being covered by the muscles. This is completely a fallacy and a wrong statement, similar to the loin, the Siemens coming between loin and ribs. That's also wrong. And I've shown through the Mayo Clinic and through other sources, everybody can easily understand that and can decide by themselves either they think that the Quran is still wrong, or is still right, or it's a scientific error. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay, Nadir,
Yeah.
you want to
So
respond to that?
where his mistake is, he's thinking that he's being scientific by quoting Cleveland and Mayo Clinic, but he's not. He's giving his own personal understanding of how he thinks science works from quoting these articles, and that's his big fallacy. Now, where he is right on one thing is, I am not here to convince the atheist skeptic. So when you say, "Look, I've done a great job," and Nader has failed to do, yes, I'm not here to convince the atheist skeptic. I'm here to talk about modern science. I'm here to talk about how if the Quran is in complete harmony with modern science. Now that's a very without any need for you to start interpreting the data on how you think these things work. Oh, we've already shown you. I've already shown you how the Quran resembles I'm sorry, how the embryo resembles a blood clot, which you fail to even address. Why? Because it's accurate. What your whole argument is based on rejecting all the other meanings of Alaqaa when it was shown to you right in front of you the other meanings, but the other translators didn't translate it like that. Therefore, I'm not going to accept it. But that shows the lack of understanding of how, poor shoddy scholarship, I guess, is what they call it. So the issue here is that the scientists have already spoken out on these things. We have already shown you three embryologists who have shown the scientific accuracy of all these stages. I did not really go into the detail on getting on how the science is working because I told you get it peer reviewed, submit it to the scientists so you can rebut the articles which Muslims are publishing. But you have cowardly ran away from that challenge. And I think when you did that, I think that decided the debate that there's no need to go any more further in this matter.
Okay, so I think that's it. We are at the end. Bitter Truth, should we conclude it now?
Yeah.
Nadir and Bitter Truth, should
Yeah,
we
yeah. I think
consider it
maybe we can
concluded?
talk about the,
Should we end it? No, should we end the debate
ah,
officially right now?
yeah.
Bitter
Yes,
Truth, you
can
want
I
to?
add my one comment before you end it up?
I think we're done.
Nadir, you want to? Do you want
I
to
mean, we're
listen to
done
this?
with it. Let's. We were going to talk for a few minutes about the post-debate discussion. I wanted to mention a few comments about the whole thing about the what's it called, the heart thinking. I think you made some videos on that. Maybe you could
Okay,
help. Yeah.
so So you don't want to listen to Bitter Truth, what he wants to say,
I think we're done.
even
I
after
would
the
like
debate.
to. Yeah.
Even
He
after the
wants
debate.
he wants to reject all the meanings of Alaqaa, even though it was shown right
Okay.
in front of him.
Okay. So,
You know,
guys,
there's
the
nothing more you
Bitter
can do with the
Truth,
guy.
Bitter Truth, Nadir doesn't want to,
Yeah.
listen to what you want to say here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, Nadir, maybe we can give him 30 seconds.
Chalo,
Yeah.
acha, 30-second de do.
Okay. 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 Bitter
All
Truth.
right. Thank you very much to giving me some more time. So I caught it from the medical source. I never interpret like you are interpreting, and everybody can understand where the problem is, and that's the reason I can see the anxiety. I also can see
Mhm.
you personally attack initially, but that's fine. It's your right. Whatever you think, you can say. But this is all been copied on that time, and this is how the Muslims are doing. I mean, there is no single evidence you provided to me through the medical source instead of just using the links
Bitter
and
Truth,
trying to
can you
show that.
please
Thank you.
keep it brief? Yeah. Yeah.
What is that?
Can you please keep it brief? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he basically tried to say that the embryologist,
But
and
not,
he was showing the medical, so he wasn't showing the medical source. He was showing individual a website
okay.
that's not even verified by the medical community. So that's not going to be a solid argument or evidence for his argument support. And it's more likely he's supposed to show us, like I show like three different sites, medical sources, where it talks about the developments and man's production reproductive system. He never able to show these all things, but he was, because he was just trying to protect the Quran, and that's pretty much I've seen.
Okay, okay, thank you. So, yeah, I'll have to show a few comments, though, because those were comments, not questions. So I skipped them for that time. So, Angel from Sky said, "We love Muslims like Nadir. Please come for another debate." Thank you, Nadir, for coming.
Sure.
And
Thanks.
definitely, if you want to have another debate on my channel, I'll always welcome it. Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna do
and
slavery, right?
yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I told you that I would be free by the end of this month.
Oh yeah.
So
I
we
need
would
time
be able
also.
to do that. Yeah. So SAHB said, do we need a Tafsir Ibn Nadir to solve the issues? Nadir, can you please write a Tafsir? Because, I think it would help a lot of people if you write a Tafsir. And
Mhm.
then there was another comment, because it was a comment, I skipped it there. Yeah, and even Nadir knows that the first human in space was not Prophet Muhammad. So yeah, so that was a comment. So you
Mhm.
can respond to it. You can say anything, but it
I
was just
think
a comment, not a question.
I think
Yeah.
all the people on your channel here, I think they all do accept that Alaka has three meanings. I think
Oh,
there's no doubt about that. And I think
oh,
from the questions and answer period, they all conceded to that.
What
So,
about the bones and bone turn into
oh,
the
we never
Muslim
talked about
forward?
that. I'm sorry. We
so
could
guys,
talk
the
about that. We
debate
could
is
debate that.
officially over. So
Yeah,
this
Yeah.
it's
is you
over.
fighting with one
Yeah.
another on your time,
No.
not on the debate time. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Anyhow,
that's
Okay.
nice.
something I would like. I
Anyhow,
would.
I wouldn't be that kind of
yeah.
moderator now.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
nice to talk to you, Nadir
All
Bhai.
right.
It
Yeah.
was my
Okay.
pleasure to have a kind of conversation with you.
Sure.
I really
No,
appreciate
I
your
would like
Mhm.
to
my
thank you both.
invitation,
You
and I
kept it
really
civil.
appreciate to Ghalib Bhai as well.
Yeah, you both kept it civil. You did not do any personal attacks. There was a
Mhm.
little bit of nudging here and there, but overall, I'm
Mhm.
really glad that you kept it like this.
Mhm.
So, Nadir, what were you saying about our
Oh,
previous?
right. So
Yeah,
many of your own atheist people, you
yeah,
see, they were listening to our debate. They did their own personal research, on this issue about the heart thinking. They wrote
uh-huh.
a lot of good corrections to I think, your
Okay, okay,
misunderstanding of this issue. Okay. So
okay,
basically, I'm going to sum up your argument and you can tell me if I get this right. Okay. There are what we concluded is that there are many credible, reliable reports which the scientific community is taking seriously regarding the heart, and I mean people with heart transplants, that they are reporting that there are having the personality of the donor, they're getting his memories and other things like that of the actual donor of the heart. Now, your response was These things don't matter because your penis has neurons, the stomach has neurons. Even if you get a hand transplant or you will also have differences in your behavior. Therefore, all of these reports should be disregarded as nonsense. Do I understand
All
you
of the
correctly?
neurons have a different function, Nadir.
Do
It's
I
not
no
like
my question? Did
you
I
are trying
understand
to
your
say
argument?
that
That's my
the heart
question.
can think. That's not right.
Hold on, Ghalib, did I understand your argument correctly?
Okay, so actually, Nader, basically the research paper that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
it was talking that because heart has neurons, that's why it's able to think. So that's why
No,
I said, yeah,
that's
it was.
okay.
I read it in detail,
Right.
and all the sources, because the first medical the link from the website that you gave, it was mentioning something, and then it was referring to a few research papers which belong to an extremely hypothetical and poor journal. And when I looked that up, and you, because you brought this up and you were bringing all that up in the debate, but I had already studied it
Mm-hmm.
a little while back, when I was maybe 3 4 years back. So basically, when you say that heart is able to think, my objection mainly was that Quran says that you believe in your heart. The belief comes from the heart, and belief is some cerebral activity, because when I believe something, this has everything to do with the brain, nothing to do with the heart.
Okay.
And
So
Quran is not talking about the heart being able to perform some kind of minor neurological function. No, Quran is saying that you think from the heart, you
well,
believe from the heart, you reason in your heart.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm, yeah.
Quran is not saying that your behavior is in your heart. Quran is
Mm-hmm.
talking about that you think from the heart, you reason
Okay,
in the heart.
okay.
And
So
reason and
my
thinking is
question, yeah,
something that is a cerebral activity.
right.
So there is
Well,
no cerebral activity here. The cerebral activity is here. This
okay.
is what
Wait
I
a
was.
second. Wait a second. So you are
So
not.
Hakimji is saying,
Oh,
Nadir, thanks for coming, brother.
thanks.
We well done both. Thank you, Hakimji,
All right.
for the super chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
my follow up question. So I just want to make sure and clear to everybody, you are not disregarding those reports from credible reports from people reporting that when they have heart transplants, they are getting the memory of the donors. They're getting their, in one instance, they felt like they've got the soul of the person. You are not disregarding those reports. You are accepting that, right?
We already disregarded those reports because we deconstructed that
Who is
paper in
we?
which,
Who is we? You are not
yeah,
accepting it, is what I'm saying.
I made, I think you did not see the videos that I made about that claim.
No, I saw
Because
all your videos,
if
and
you
they're
had,
proving you.
then you would know
No.
that the research
Okay.
paper that you presented from the
Forget about the
hypothetical.
research paper, Ghalib. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
asking you a
because
question.
the
Do you
website that
accept
you,
them as credible reports? Yes or no?
no, I
Okay,
don't.
so that's where the problem is. This is
No,
where
no,
all the
because
people
That's
let
are
me
wrong.
tell you,
commenting on you. I will share
Ghalib
those
bhai, can I
comments.
say
but you are
something?
committing a
Please.
fallacy here.
Okay, now you've
Nadir.
spoken. Now let me speak. Let me speak. Okay, from
I am not
you are
yet.
now
I'm
telling.
done yet. You
Okay,
interrupted me, Nadir.
okay, go ahead. You're
So
rejecting all those reports. Yeah. Okay.
basically, the research paper,
Mm-hmm.
the doctor who did this research, he did it only on 10 people. The sample size is just too small, and the behavioral changes that he's reporting, they are just anecdotal. We
Mm-hmm.
discussed the research paper, the original
Yep, I
research
heard it.
paper, which talks about this study, which follows a heart transplant recipient, and it talks about receiving the so now this battery is just exhausted. So
Oops, sorry.
receiving the donor there. So the problem still remains that we do not have any kind of credible, research paper, because it's from a journal that is known as the Journal of Medical Hypothesis. It is
Okay.
not established science. So
Okay.
we need something from the established science to say that
Mm-hmm.
heart does some thinking,
Okay.
and heart does not do any kind of thinking. Yeah.
Okay. So let me just. These are from your own atheist people. Okay, I'm going to refute you from the comments made by the own atheist people here. Okay, these are
Okay.
not Muslims. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
you want
So
me to
You're
share your
supposed to
screen?
they
show
make
us.
very good points of your misunderstanding for your
Should I share
rejection.
your screen?
Okay.
Can I?
Oh, can you see my screen?
Peter Truth want to say something, then I will share your
Oh,
screen.
thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
Peter
good.
Truth, what do you want to say?
The heart neurons. as well as the other neurons. All of them have a different type of functions. The heart
Yeah, we are
neuron
not speaking.
function is to stabilize the heart rate and also memorize it. The other neurons, like we have receptor in our skin, those also called neurons. There's when we feel something, it's the neuron and it's sending signal directly to the brain. They
Yeah.
all are connected through the what is called, I forget, um, through the call of fluid, I forget the name, I'm sorry, I'm lost right now. So I will talk a little bit later. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so now that
Okay.
I have your screen here. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to, they make some very good points and show now these are not Muslims, these are your own atheist people, okay? And they made some very good
No,
points
not
showing your
everyone
error.
on my channel is an
Okay.
atheist. You know,
Becky, okay,
more
okay.
than 40% of my audience is non-atheists.
Okay. Look what they say, because they make some very good points on your error here. Okay, so it is when we come to see the issue about rejecting the credible reports about people who have had heart transplants, or talking about that they've got the memories and of their donors and things like this. This is not something which is doubted from the scientific community. It is only you and maybe your cohorts who are denying this. So look what he says over here. I rewatched what Ghalib was arguing. He said the Quran is wrong because a part of the human body, the heart in this case, other than the brain, thinks. He was making arguments based on common sense. Okay, well, your penis has neurons and your stomach has neurons, stuff like that. The fact that there was anything to show to the contrary, coming from the scientific community, refuted
Yeah,
his argument.
I know this guy.
Okay.
This guy is a Muslim. I know this guy.
Okay.
And
Well, I don't know.
I even know who he really is.
But other
He's not a
people agreed
Muslim.
with him. Now,
No,
Kyle,
no,
he is
people,
not a Muslim.
now,
Kyle is not a Muslim.
how low should the bar go if you have the, comments on a video to refute my
Look,
claim?
because they made
This is
very
really
good points.
childish.
You see, so
This is
can you
really childish,
accept?
Nadir, because
Okay, can you
because,
accept that it is
because
only you?
you have only the
Ghalib.
commentators on the video to disprove.
Okay, let me now. You spoke. Let me speak. Okay, look. You see,
Okay.
when
So
you rejected these testimonies, you do accept the fact that it is only you and your cohorts, but not the scientific community, who is rejecting these testimonies. And as I
okay, so
told
can
you,
you name a few people from the scientific community
yes, I actually
that
spoke.
said that Ghalib was wrong?
No, not what I can
So
show you.
do you have a person from the scientific community who
Okay.
told you that Ghalib is wrong
Okay.
and you are right?
So no, I not that says Ghalib is wrong. I don't think they know you.
No,
But
is
my
there a
point
person,
here
because
is
you are quoting the scientific community as
okay.
someone you personally know?
But
Okay.
Ghalib bhai, how I know that
Okay, here, let me
he is
share my
quoting
desktop.
from
Let
the
me share my
authentic
desktop.
source?
I know that in the article, you see that the thing when I presented a hypothesis article, okay, in that debate.
Hypothesis is not accepted science.
Let me explain to you why I did that. Okay.
Hypothesis is something that still has to receive an observational or
Okay.
experimental
Okay.
evidence.
Okay.
And that's what you presented.
Let me explain to you why I did that. Okay. And the justification for doing it. You see, the hypothesis was he was hypothesizing a fact of medical science that the hypothesis was, how is it that people are retaining the memory of the donors? The hypothesis is cell memory. He's thinking this is the way it's working. That's where the hypothesis is. But what was not disputed by the scientific community is that we have many, many credible reports, more than 10, of people complaining about their heart transplants. Okay. Now, can you answer this as a yes or no question?
Can you come again?
Yeah. So my question to you is, the issue from the scientific community, nobody is denying that credible reports are coming from people that they're complaining about this heart transplant, that they've got the memories. And one person even said, I even got the soul of my donor. This is not the only person who's disputing this science is you.
Anecdotal at best. That is anecdotal at best.
Oh, no, that's not my question.
Let's say
you are not answering.
Wait,
hold on, Ghalib, please answer my question. The only person I know who is denying these credible reports is you. Is that a fair assumption?
So bring me someone
That's
from
no,
the
answer my
scientific
question.
community. No, Nadir, you are committing a fallacy here.
Okay.
That's a grave fallacy. Why? Because you are saying that no one from scientific community is refuting anything.
Can you see what's on your screen?
I can also make the same fallacy. It would still be a logical fallacy.
Okay. Can you see what's on your screen?
That would be that would be, I can say that bring someone from the scientific community who says that Ghalib is wrong.
Mhm.
You do that, and I'll accept that I'm
Okay.
wrong.
Okay, so see,
Because you
Ghalib,
have not
you've
brought
answered my
anyone from
question.
the scientific community to say that Ghalib is wrong. And secondly, now
Okay.
I'll share my screen.
Well, hold
And
on.
we
I want
discussed,
to ask you
we
about this
shared this.
article. Heart transplant personnel. This is coming from Thomas.
This is the research paper
Okay.
from
Heart
which
is
we
not only a
quoted
pump, but a
everything,
center for
and
feeling, memory, and
this,
personality. Okay.
this is the paper that the website that you showed us at
Yes.
that day.
No, I didn't show you
That
this one. This is the new one.
yeah,
But
yeah,
my
yeah.
okay.
This
Can
is
you do? I think you've
basically
answered my question that
we
from
are
the
talking about.
okay. I just want to make sure you're answering my question. You do accept that from the scientific perspective, from the scientific community, nobody is denying the credible reports we're getting about heart transplants, but you are. Okay, I think you have answered my question.
No.
Okay.
The problem is things that you are presenting as scientific fact is not scientific fact. It's a hypothesis. Fact is something that is
Okay.
established. This is unestablished science, and for the last 20 years, it is still unestablished.
Okay,
Why
let me
it
give you
is
scientific
why
fact.
it is unestablished? Because this is not even worth a scientific inquiry. That's why no one inquired
Okay.
about it. This paper has only
Okay.
10 sightings in the last 23, 24 years. So this is not something that can be known as credible science.
Okay,
So
here is
you are
scientific
still,
fact in front of you, which refutes what you're saying. Okay.
no, this is not a
May
scientific
I
fact.
quote it? May I quote it?
No, but you are not looking at the journal that is on the screen right now.
Well, no,
This
I'm
is
sure.
a
Okay.
journal of medical
Okay.
hypothesis. What do you think? What
Hold
is a
on.
hypothesis?
Okay,
Can
I'll
you,
let you talk,
Nadir,
and
can
then
you
I'll
define a
answer.
hypothesis for me? What is a hypothesis?
It's just an idea of how they think something
So
works. Yes.
and you are saying that I can a hypothesis and you would give it a lot of respect and you would take it as scientific fact?
No, of course you
Would you?
cannot take a
So
hypothesis as a scientific fact.
why should we take my medical hypothesis that you are quoting as scientific fact? Because you are not going to take my hypothesis as scientific
No,
fact.
but you're misunderstanding, Ghalib.
No, I am not. I am
May I
not
answer? Okay, I'll let you
misunderstanding. I am
talk.
not
I'll let you talk, then I'll
misunderstanding,
answer.
Nadir. The problem is, I am trying to mention the difference between a scientific hypothesis and scientific fact. I can make a scientific hypothesis, but the point till I confirm it with some substantiating evidence, till that point it means nothing. And that is exactly the problem with the paper that you gave or with the website links that you gave. It's unsubstantiated, hypothetical. We can say that it's science, but it's unsubstantiated, hypothetical science. And
Ghalib bhai, can I
hypothetical
ask you?
science is not
Well,
just 1 minute bit. Hypothetical science is not the science like which you can say with utmost confidence that it is true. It can still be wrong. And for the last 20 years, if no one has proven it wrong, no one has proven it correct as well. Give us a scientific paper that confirms this one, and you would never be able to do that. That's the problem, Nadir.
okay, can I
Yeah.
respond?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so there's I totally agree with you on hypothesis. We should not accept it as fact. I'm totally agreeing with you on that. But I think you are misunderstanding the article. What was a hypothesis the hypothesis was an explanation for what we are seeing about the donor receiving memory of the the recipient receiving memory of the donor. That was a hypothesis, but nobody is disputing the fact that this, in fact, is actually happening. He's showing how it's happening, and that's where the hypothesis was. So the hypothesis was cellular memory. He's thinking that could be the case. And so, yeah, I accept. Let's not accept that as fact. But I think you did answer my question when I pointed out, look, the only people I know, and I've done a little bit of research on this, who's disputing the credible reports of people who are, reporting that they're receiving the memory of the donor, that is something which is not a hypothesis, but these are credible reports. And you today have, I think, explained to me that you reject all of the claims these people are making. And so I think you did make that clear. So now I would like to show you documented scientific fact, which I think can answer all of this here. And I'm just going to, I think my camera is working here. So I'm going to turn on my camera real quick. and I would like to show you from you asked for documented scientific fact, and I will go ahead and let me turn on my camera here. Okay, I'll show it to you. I know I'm a little bit blurry. I'm going to try to do that little thing trick you showed me.
Yeah, you can
Um,
share your screen if you have something,
yeah.
but
Now
I'm still telling
let me
you
show
that
you.
brain does not, heart
Okay,
does not think,
I want to
brain does.
share. I want your opinion on this here. Okay, now this goes back to atheist pseudoscientific quackology, which is your guys' own personal interpretation of science that you people are creating. But this now here, this article, the hearts now. This is which I think settles the deal. This was what convinced all the
Yeah,
atheists
you
was that
showed that one, this
no, no,
one
no, no.
as
This,
well on
please,
the
this
day.
is not the
Yeah,
one
you
I
did.
showed you. You're making a
You did.
mistake.
You
No,
did.
no.
You
The
did.
field of this is we did not talk about this in the debate. Listen to what he says over here. The field of neurocardiology, that link between the brain and the heart, is still in its infancy stage, basically. So now let's stop here. This is a scientific fact. So what everybody is pointing out to you, and if you read the comments, they alluded to this.
I know
Okay,
about this paper, Nadir. I know
okay.
about this
So
paper.
now here's my question
I
to
can
you.
summarize the paper for you if you want me to. I've already studied this.
Okay, no, no, wait a second. My question for you, Ghalib, is if this, if neurocardiology is still in its infancy stage, we don't know really how this thing works. How are you making these bold claims here that there's no way that
Because the burden of proof is
that
on
the
you,
heart
not
can
on me,
start
not
doing
on me,
any kind
Nadir.
of thinking? How are you making these bold claims now when it's in
Because the
its
burden of
infancy
proof
stage?
is on you, not on me. I will still say I don't believe it
Okay,
till the point when you
okay,
provide me with the evidence. And secondly, you have to listen to me.
okay.
Brain, heart has a little brain of its own. Kidneys also have a little brain of its own. Liver also has a little brain of their own. Okay, every organ has a little brain of their own. Why? Because neurological function is present in every
Hmm.
organ, and through that neurological function the brain controls other organs. This is how it happens, and this
Hmm.
is how they communicate with the brain. You Okay, if there is no neurological function in any of the other organs in the body, you would not even know if
Hmm.
there is dysfunction in those parts of the body, because the pain would not be transmitted to the brain. This is what happens with the painless babies, because the neurological function that is there in every organ and every part of the body is not functioning properly somehow. That's why you have painless people
Hmm.
who do not have anything. And when you
Hmm.
say that heart has a small brain of its own, the liver has a small brain of its own, even the penis has a small brain of its own,
No, they
even
don't.
the butt has a
No, they
brain
don't.
of its own.
No,
Yeah,
they don't.
yeah, they have.
Okay,
This
so
is
here's
what I
my
was
next
trying to
question.
No,
explain to
that's
you.
Will
true.
you
And
take
in
That's
your
what
this
I was
round,
trying
scientific?
to
Okay,
explain
so
to you
here's my
that.
question because
can
this
I
is
say
something.
something?
Hold on, let me my follow up question for you, and this is a question I asked Bitter Truth. I will actually pay all the expenses. Will you get your research peer reviewed and get it in front of the scientific community? Your explanation of how you think science works and why all of the evidences or all the people are talking about the heart brain, all this is all nonsense. Will you get it
Let me
peer
tell you
reviewed and
one
submit
thing,
it to the
Nader.
scientific
Let me tell you
community?
one thing. Let
No,
me tell you
answer
one
that
thing.
question.
I would answer this question.
Okay.
Nader, if you think your claims are correct, you wouldn't need to publish those correct claims that heart can think. You wouldn't
Mhm.
need a single penny to publish that heart is able to think in Nature or Science journal. You're saying that I will pay you to get published science. If you are giving us correct science, it doesn't need any money to be published. And
Hmm.
I challenge you to do research
Hmm.
and say that heart is able to think,
Hmm.
and you wouldn't need any kind of money to publish that in Nature or any other credible scientific journal.
Can
So
I?
this is a fallacy when you say that, okay, I'll pay the money. This is
Hmm.
just bragging rights that you're trying to
Well,
exercise
may
there
I
where
answer?
they don't exist.
Ghalib bhai,
Just
can I?
Let me answer Ghalib's challenge,
they
if I
don't
may.
exist. If the
May I
science is
answer you?
correct,
I'll just
it does
finish.
not need
Okay.
money to be published into a scientific journal. That's just a plain fallacy, and this is quite a stupid fallacy. So, Bitter Truth, you want to say something?
Well, hold
Yes.
on. Can I answer Ghalib?
Yeah, you can, but let Bitter Truth say something, because we are
Okay, sure,
snubbing
sure,
him
sure.
for the last maybe half an hour.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah,
that's okay. So
yeah.
the thing is, I whatever I represent in this debate, it's empirical evidence. It's through the medical science, and nothing I bring it from outside of the medical science. The one now you are talking about the neurons, and you say that the heart has its own thinking. That's completely false. Let me ask you, when we do the sympathetic denervation surgery, left sympathetic denervation surgery, what happens? We cut the nerve which is connected to the brain. And why we cut that? Because of the stress, the heart won't take any stress through the and disturbance onto the heart rhythm. That's the only reason we cut the nerve. If the heart can think itself, then still the stress is there, and then heart will giving arrhythmia. And it's not even showing on into the medical science. And I've seen a lot of patients who have a different type of disease. When they cut this nerve, you go ahead and please, Nadir bhai, search on that, why the reason for cutting the nerve to stop the stress.
Okay, let
Okay, so
me.
there is this Hakim is a Muslim. So Hakim, you can see the comment below the screen. Thinking from heart is just a metaphor. He's a Muslim. He's not an atheist.
That's one way you can explain it.
Yeah.
But
Individualist is saying here the immune system can be said to act on its own independent of the brain. Does that mean immune system thinks for itself? Yeah. So Nadir, I would like to have your closing remarks, and we are just going to stop this stream after that. So,
okay. So
anything you want to say, you can say.
Yeah. Okay. So let me so basically, what I understand, once again, just like bitter, you guys got your own quackological analysis of how you think science works. But I've asked you to get it peer reviewed. I will even pay for it, and you have denied it. But I think the statement which destroys all of the argument here is neurocardiology is still in its infancy stage. So you are right. Neither I can make a positive assertion, neither can you make a positive assertion of the link between the brain and the heart, which exists when it's in its infancy stage. That's what people were commenting. How are you guys talking so boldly about this? And I made a mistake of saying it definitely does think. We shouldn't say that at this point. So if something is in its infancy stage, and these are things which as scientists need to be debating, not you and I, okay? And of course, you've backed away from joining the debate with them, which tells us a lot. And so you think, oh, this heart brain connection, it works the same way as all this bladder connection with the brain. I think you mentioned immune system. It all works the same way. And this is a question for all of your followers. Are you going to follow Ghalib in rejecting all the credible claims from people who have had heart transplants?
Ghalib is a scientific quack.
The only honest Ghalib, you are the only person today I know who is rejecting it, and you're encouraging all your followers to do it. This goes against the scientific community because they accept it as credible.
Okay, I accept that. And secondly, Nadir, right now, if I show you my legs, they don't exist because you already destroyed my legs. I exist just till this point. Below this, there's nothing. Everything is just destroyed. I'm sitting there without my legs.
I'm already totally vanished. I'm no more. It's only my voice.
Yeah. So secondly, Nadir, if some science is in its infancy, no one calls it mature science, and no one uses it in any of those things. So there are so many infant sciences in the world, and you don't see graphene is an infant science. You don't see it applied in appliances right now. So I accept that you're talking about some infant science, and that science has been infant since the last 22 years. And secondly, I don't have my legs. Maybe I'll go and find my legs.
You cannot claim it's contradicting the Quran because we don't know how that heart-brain connection works.
Can you explain me how the electrolytes work? How the
scholar, the doctor, the medical community is saying the heart-brain connection. We are still learning about it. So how can you say this contradicts the Quran?
Yeah, you guys are speaking one over. Nadir. I gave you the last point. You had your last point. I'm not going to respond to it. Bitter truth. Should we end it now? Yeah,
I think we're good.
Yes, please go ahead and end it up. Okay. Thank you,
Bye, guys.
and Nadir.
Okay, Nadir, thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. You are our brother. We love you. I love you too. I love you, and Bitter Truth, I love you. You both,
I love
my
you
brother.
too.
It was a very
I
good
love you,
debate.
Nadir bhai, as well.
And definitely, I'll like to have. And if any of you wants to have a debate with someone else, I'll be always willing to provide my platform.
Okay.
So Nadir, that's good night.
All right. I'll talk later. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Okay. See you. Bye-bye.